and you see them playing against W7M, you're going to sit and watch it. So that's another, you know, factor to pick up on as well, potentially.
Absolutely. Well, I've heard that our game is just starting, Tim. So I haven't got to sit and listen to us yap much longer. We can actually get to watch some Siege. Final one of the day before our grand final tomorrow. It's worth stressing. You don't want to miss that one because the winner of this will face off against FaZe. And arguably today was one of FaZe's best performances I think I've seen. And they've had a lot of good performances over the years. Onwards we march then. Ban's going to kick things off. First bans coming through are going to be, to no one's surprise at all, Tim, Azami and Monty.
Yeah, pretty much as expected, really. We'll see, do they double down on the shields? Maybe a Blackbeard or a Blitz going alongside, or is it something like a Ying, perhaps? There we go. It is going to be the Ying. I might have watched too much Siege. Castle will go alongside that Azami, so all fairly standard there.
Yeah, I mean, these two bands, we spoke about them quite a lot. They're what Ubisoft dubbed the architects of Siege. You can see the same thing coming out from Mira. All three sort of hold that unique role where they change how a defender's site is played, whether it's through very dynamic cover as provided by the Azami, whether it's the castles going down, of course, over doorways and windows, or towards a Mira, who, as we know, goes onto walls and things like that. I'm sure we'll see some interesting operators in the same category at some point in the future, but I think the Azami, as we know, being as dynamic as she is, just invites a little bit too much danger, and this map in particular, a castle, can be very, very frustrating to deal with. Have to make sure you're bringing along the right utility to deal with those castle panes, for example. So I think it just means that things should flow a little bit more fluidly for the side of Furia on the attacking side of this map. Here we go, though. We're going to kick things off with a little bit of roaming on the downstairs, or keeping themselves busy on the downstairs around the site itself, because we are in the basement for our first round. Looking at that attacking lineup, Tim, we've got the Sens coming along for Leapox, but the vertical destruction from Nade, no big surprises there, but it does all point towards a big execute based on that Capitao and the Sens together.
Just having a look at the combined numbers, and it's actually very close. If we think about the first two maps, Cafe and Bank, over the sort of last couple of months, over stage one, Furia on those two maps combined are 5-0, 5 wins, 0 losses. NIP are 5 wins, 1 loss. So very, very similar between these two in terms of playing these maps. And I love that. The maps that they're obviously capable of playing, they're capable of going and getting wins there. And those are the maps that I want to see. Look at this. Straight away, Fantasy out of the window. Takes down for Leapox. Actually, Sen's gone. Big loss for the round.
Yeah, I mean, again, that was the main thing I was looking at as part of their execute here. We saw them actually making use of Sense quite a bit on Chalet to be able to use onto the library hall window, stop someone checking out onto the bathroom window and trying to spray somebody down. Didn't stop kills coming through for the other side of FaZe. They just spray through the Sense light wall and catch people out regardless. They swung that window so many times, they could probably do it with their eyes closed, or in this case, their vision, and they get kills off the back of it. So we know that it's in Furia's wheelhouse, but what a dream start to catch that out. Definitely going to negate and take away some of the strength of the execute. And this is kind of what FaZe did early on, was get up in the face of Furia, disrupt them, catch them with spawn peaks, be aggressive early in the round so Furia could never get set up for an execute. And I think NIP are looking to take a little bit of a note out of FaZe's book for that part.
Yeah, and it's certainly done a job to kick things off and puts them on the back foot to begin with. The difficulty that they're going to have now is Leapox on that Sense likely would have played those gadgets across VIP so that you can then drop down into Freezer without that attention from the VIP player, in this case Fantasy. So you put the light screen across, and if they don't do anything about it with impact nades or nitros or something like that, you can just bring those light screens up when you're going to drop into Freezer, when you're going to push through to try and take site and put the diffuser down. That's now something that they don't have available. It means they're going to have to, I would expect, more directly deal with Fantasy inside a VIP.
Absolutely. Speaking of Fantasy, we've seen them playing in this spot before, and it was a very, very effortless execute really coming out from the other side. I forget whether it was Furia or FaZe playing it, but they dealt with it very, very handily, as they've done here. 2 quick kills come on through. Cons, one of our highlight players from the last series, also taken out by Herds. Furia moving forward as a unit here, forcing NIP to pay the price, but we're down to this last 30. And Wizard, well, he's in a spot to work a little bit of danger here, Tim. Put a curse on them as they start their march on forward. They know they've got to deal with him, but all he's got to do is get this initial kill. That could be the start they need. Sees the gun barrel, but already it's down to a 3 versus 3. AZ in spot, swung on by the shotgun. There's very little support coming out. Wizard strikes big, is traded out, and we're into a 1v1. Nade versus Hates. Who comes out on top? Well, it's got to be Nade, as Hates was looking completely the wrong way. First round going to Furia, but only by a slither.
That's a shame for Hates. He still had his Toxic Babe canister in pocket, put it on the doorway. played it perfectly, really, in the situation in the 1v1. 9 seconds left to go, just smoked it off. Nade just walked in through it and got the kill anyway. So, yeah, really tough one for Hits there. But a lot of back and forth in that round. And I think, you know, the ideas were there for NIP. They just weren't able to really capitalise on it. They got the sense, which is, you don't get a choice on a jump out. It worked out huge for them. The only real answer, as I said at the time, was for Furia to clear VIP out. They needed to go and get the kill onto Fantasy, and they did. And they got a second along with it as well. So then they had the man advantage, and they kind of just played the trade game from there, kept themselves in it. And, you know, yeah, it took a little bit of magic from Nade at the end in the 1v1 to go in and find that kill and get it done. But Furia lock it out, and I think just show NIP that they are maybe in for a slightly tougher game on Cafe than the one they got out of W7M.
Yes, and we thought this as well. Furia would sort of wake themselves up a little bit there. Know that they've been handily dealt hard blows really coming out from FaZe, and you'd see a different team in this game. Again, them coming down a little bit from the highs that we've seen from them, NIP coming up a little bit. It was always going to be an interesting midpoint, and I think a very, very close 1v1 to end out the first round suggests that we're in for more of that as we go through. The thing coming out here, we saw this actually coming out of the earlier series as well, is going to be that Nomad and Gridlock pairing. Saw this even like picked up quite early on and banned away by one of our teams in the earlier series. I think here it's about controlling NIP and the aggression they've shown. Admittedly, their lineup here looks very different to what we saw from them back in the first series, Tim. Leaning in towards the Oryx, in towards the Valkyrie. Not quite locking themselves down with 5 heavily defensive operators. Instead, they've got at least a couple, even maybe 3 with the Frost, that can go and get busy around the map and cause bother.
Straight away, in go the track stingers on to Red Stairs. That's just going to cut off the flank up there at least for them, so they can start taking a little bit more confident control of that area. Not rushing in just yet. Very concerned about those black eye cameras. It's going to be Herdz's job, as we would expect on the IQ, to be pinging those out so that his team can do something about them. Got a little drone just hidden away, a Twitch drone hidden away inside a site there, so could be some valuable intel to be gained from it if NIP don't pick up on that at any point. And they certainly don't need to make things any harder for themselves. Hits is going to be in rough shape in Pixel Corner as well. One bullet will do the job. How about that, though? They got one last time around in round 1. This time Cons says, I'm going to get 2. KZ down as well. Round all but over.
Yes, when you have a Gridlock and the Nomad on side. Very, very curious and very, very interesting. Like, sure, maybe you get rid of the edge ups on the way through, but that shouldn't really be happening, not at this level. And they've paid the price of that big time. You know, Casey's also on his backside, probably going to find himself finished off soon. It's just Herds now left standing. This could be a flawless round coming out, but no. Of course, he has to spoil the party and get at least one. It's not going to be a flawless round, but Cons there has done all the work required despite the lineup that we saw coming out of Furia.
I feel like Furia have come in here and are kind of still making mistakes. They were making them at times against FaZe, and FaZe were punishing them for it. We saw, you know, a number of 3v5s slip through their fingers. Now, they're allowing jump outs in both rounds. They lose the sense in one, and then they lose 2 operators in the second round. They can't keep allowing this.
No. More what we spoke about earlier on, bro, is the little like things that were being given away repeatedly by Furia. They're getting themselves the entry, and the vast majority of it, I tweeted about it, where I was like, have you ever seen such a disparity between KD of players and the entry record? Because collectively, most of their players were like -8, -9 on KD, but they were +3, +4 on entry, and I was like, this is absolutely bar. One, it shows an awful lot about FaZe and their ability to win from a man down, but it said a lot about Fury being able to get themselves starting around, have all the, you know, the early success they needed, but couldn't quite close a round out. Wasn't quite the same here, of course. Both of those first kills came over towards Cons, but they had the operators to stop that sort of thing happening and still paid the price. Either way, interesting first couple of rounds to start things out. Let's see how round 3 goes. Who's going to pull ahead and get themselves into the lead?
A lot of bakery attention as they try to hold on to kitchen site. It's going to be a case of getting those Valkyrie cameras out. Fantasy again going to be playing in and around dining, looking to hold on to that area, and again doing immediate damage from there. Furia just don't seem to be learning, Des. Know that, you know, yeah, a spray through a barricade, these things happen, but this is 3 rounds in a row now.
Not looking good. It's almost the reverse fortune they had the earlier series. Not used to losing out on the entry and tries. They might there. Cons really thought He was on to do something special and get rid of a second, but Nate has dealt with him. Down to a 4v4. Do like the aggression I'm seeing out of NIP, though, being willing to step up and challenge onto Furia early, not let them get too settled. As I said earlier on, it feels that they're taking a couple of lessons out of FaZe's book as the way to deal with Furia.
Just going to use the Hibana pellets at the side of the hatch. That should do the job to open up the freezer drop. Fantasy is in and around bar, so he's changed operators. Not on the Warden now, he's on the Valkyrie instead. And he's also changed locations. He's not going to be playing in VIP quite as aggressively as he has done the last few times we've seen him playing on this site. He's usually locked right in there in that position that we would expect. But this time, no. It's going to be more towards bar and looking to have an impact from there, feeding that intel in, keeping himself off the radar a little bit, I think, to try and clear out those cameras, but it's going to be the cameras that are getting cleared out by the IQ at the minute.
No surprise at all, right? That's why you bring the IQ along, and we know that Herds is quite partial to playing a little bit of IQ. Saw it a lot during the series earlier. More of the same. Coming down towards that last 60 seconds or so now, though. No massive denial outside of the 3 smokes that currently sit in the back pocket. I hate to imagine they're held on very tight when the execute comes on through. Eyes fall to Felipox, no doubt, as well here. He'd also normally look towards KZ, but of course the Grim is gone. But instead, it's the fire, it's the smoke, it's the nades, it's the flashes in back pocket. What have they got here to really work with? Well, for one thing, it's a nade to toss on down and at least take out one of those Vulcan canisters. We're forced the player inside of VIP back ever so slightly, but still in range here to be able to contest on towards any drops that come through. Somebody
just waiting tight inside that wedding window there. Wizard definitely wanting to get himself a peek around here. And I tell you what, Pia just carrying on as they left off, making a 3. He didn't even move his feet, Des.
Let's have a rest now, Fantasy. Come on, mate. We've seen this enough this stage. Oh, Nade does have the answer to him, but does he have the answer to 3 other players on this team? I'm not so sure. Again, for me there, like, VIP has to be punished. They've sent 3 players to try and clear him out, and he's killed every single one.
I'm not sure Fantasy even used his keyboard, to be honest. I think that was just mouse at that point. He just absolutely barely moved, just like a turret, rotating around and taking them out. And as we said, you know, NIP, look, they came in and I won't say surprised as against W7M. We know how well they've been playing. They're in the playoffs for a reason. But still, you would have expected a stronger performance from W7M. But NIP just completely smothered them. And they're starting to do the same to Furia. 2-1 now. And NIP looking very, very good.
All right. Certainly a way to get things started, to show that maybe Furia aren't quite as hot as they would like to think they are. NOP definitely starting to look transform. Saying transform feels harsh because they still finished 3rd in the regular league player. Admittedly, I think it was like 3 wins, 3 OT wins. It was very, very tight either way you look at it. They've played well throughout the stage. That's the important part to admit. But again, as Jack said earlier on their desk when we came into their series, the first series they played, part of it was like, yeah, but against weaker opposition, against stronger opposition, they haven't found wins. It's always been against the weaker opposition. At this point, maybe Furia are starting to look like that weaker opposition. It's only 3 rounds in, but it's not been a promising first 3 rounds for Furia, I'll say that much.
Round 4 it will be, and NIP will continue on the defense. This time it's going to be mining that they try to hold on to. We can see the rotations getting opened up to give them access into reading as well. Banshee's going to be placed to prevent any rushes coming through, any easy access through the reading door. Just interested to see how many NIP play up on the top floor. We saw them commit quite heavily up there previously, and by that I mean when we were watching them against W7M. They're certainly willing to put 2 or 3 or even more up on that top floor. For the time being, it's 3. We've got Hates, Fino and Cons all up there to try and hold on and prevent the verticals. Furia not really bringing a lot of vertical options. Herds is, we would normally say, Ash, not too important, there for the entries. Not really going to be the case here. Soft breach charges and those breaching charges are pretty much all they've got to do any serious vertical. They've got, you know, the explosive grenades on Zofia. Not great for
really
verticality.
Use those for verticals,
no,
though, do you know?
Really not great for, you know, much better uses elsewhere. So Herds is actually quite important here if they want to take top floor control and get a little bit of vertical pressure down into site.
Well, I don't feel too like pent up on having that vertical control, given it is that mining site. You definitely want it for like reading when you get control of cocktail, but here, a limited amount you can get in towards mining. You don't really care too much about it.
It's train
itself.
more than anything.
Yeah, train was going to be a threat for the need piano control. Yeah, Pino's got himself a bit of a freebie there. Not quite the way they wanted this to start. Nade trying to push him down, but no, the side swipe is there. 3 kills for NIP. And Furia have tried to go fast and been aptly punished by the ninjas who give nothing over to them here. One kill comes across on towards Herds, at least as Cons, our hero of the earlier series. He falls down. It's a 4v2. And at this point, NIP, let's just not give away any silly kills. And this round is surely yours.
Yeah, JV's just going to take a tickle of damage there. Does manage to go in and find a lot more in return to Pino. That gives us now a 2v4, becomes a 2v3. I think it was a 2v5 actually. It started as JV just going to be battling on those white stairs still. Maybe needs to be careful. Herds has got himself inside a site as well. Furia could well be doing this. JV manages to find hits. It's almost certainly over as Herds is battling. It's JV to pick up the final kill. And NIP, unforgivable round from them. They have thrown that away big time. Furia were punished very quickly for not having that vertical pressure. They tried to rush in. I'd commented on the lack of options that they had to be able to force people out of train, for example. Their plan was rush in with the blitz, just get up in their faces. It didn't work. NIP stood up to it. And then they've just let Herds and JV get right back into it.
It's bizarre because for Furia, it's the exact opposite of what they experienced against FaZe earlier, right? It'd often be Furia with the man advantage and just laughing their way through, only to see a round then get lost because someone managed to clutch up. Well, Furia have managed to just deal exactly the same back to the other side. And as you said, I think NIP are going to be kicking themselves there, just getting a little bit too keen, a little bit over peaky, and ultimately losing a round that they really shouldn't have. 2 apiece then, and Furia, if they're on course for a 3-3 halftime, I think I'll be feeling pretty good about that. They'll be feeling very happy going into the second when they move into the defense, knowing that they've got 3 of the attacking rounds in the game. Probably quite confident in themselves they could then take at least 4 on the defense and see this first map out.
I would completely agree. I think, yeah, 3-3 is a bit of a steal for Furia. Imagine 4-2. You know, given the way that the first few rounds have gone, NIP have been, you know, reasonably on top, I would say, you know, of the whole thing. It was a 1v1 that they've won in the first round, Furia, and then it was a 2v4 that they've won in round 4, both rounds that, you know, really they've no business winning. NIP should be closing those out as the defenders, but haven't been able to, and they may well find themselves being significantly punished. It's an opportunity to take Cafe away from Furia, which, you know, would be a real big marker to put down at the beginning of this one, and they might well just let that slip through their fingers. For the time being, back to this round we go. Dockerby, your favourite at the minute. Raura is onside, Nade, so we'll keep an eye on that, see where those barricades are placed. And we've got JV with the smokes, with the glass, looking to cause a problem.
Yeah, always interested when you start seeing these spicy combination of operators, you know, Raura and Glass for one, the Dockerby being another. Normally screams that there is some plan ready to start happening. Pino once again, though, gets the entry. Casey's there for a response to C4 straight onto JV. That's Dockerby and Glass gone down, Tim. So sure, now you can turn towards Raura if you want. But there's a plant going down, fair play, inside of the smoke. But is it going to be enough for them? I don't know if they're 100% aware this is going down at this point, Tim. But they've snaked it away. And now we're going to have to see the defender spring into action. Wizard whipping some shots there and giving Casey a freebie as the rest of the team scramble to try and recover this one.
I think it's just Furia, I was going to say a little bit out of shape here. They need to get to the roof realistically. Need to be quick to make the challenge, though. They're not going to be, I don't think. Sprays it down. That is an absolute fraction of a second. Nade manages to keep Fantasy off it, and this choice to get up to the roof really is the big one. Is he aware here? He's going to have to drop down. He knows that he can't make the challenge. The cover is there. And NIP, they managed to win the round. I think Furia were clutching at straws there, getting the diffuser down. They were short-handed. They knew they had to make a move. They'd managed to slip past the warden, brought the glasses online just a little bit too late. Diffuser had already gone by him through the smoke. And it was a little bit of a Hail Mary play from Furia. Let's just get it down on the ground, get up on the roof, see if we can hold it. But NIP finding the cover from that skylight angle, that was the big one. It forced Furia back into sight, having to drop the hatch, and there was no chance then. The cover was in place, and NIP managed to go with the counter defuse and get themselves up to 3-2.
Yeah, not bad at all, not bad at all. Chance to make this a 4-2 half. They'll feel good if they can get to that one. As I mentioned already, Furia, I think they'll be expecting a 3-3 given how things have gone so far. It feels like a pretty balanced half overall, that if either side walks away with the 4-2, I think the other will feel a little bit hard done by. The second half is really going to make a difference there, charging through one side of the wall but not the other. Interesting. But either way, job done. Rotation opened up.
Gonna have reinforcements continuing right up to the end of the prep phase. 9 drones still left alive for Furia, so playing a solid intel game here, not giving anything away. Often the defenders will have an idea of the sort of organized pre-placed spots that the attackers will use. That's part of the research, the analysis that's done on the way into those games, and they'll go and check those spots, see if they can pick up some of those drones. Furia obviously having plenty at their disposal and mixing them up. So one more drone has been taken out. Still 8 left alive for Furia after 30 seconds into the round is good going. It gives them plenty of intel, so no excuses for Furia if they get caught out with any jump outs, any peeks. Really should be getting punished if NIP try any of that.
Oh, that's why I think they've brought the striker in this round specifically, right? The claymores as the secondary gadget that you bring is hilarious. Because they've really wanted to make sure they've got enough frags on side to be able to burn through a lot of the utility, you know? Looking in towards the bulletproof cameras, looking in towards the Malusi Banshees that are also going to impede them. The shield on Pino. There's a lot of things to get rid of here. And having this flexibility, being able to bring so many nades has really, really helped. But also making sure you've got that cover to be able to deal with any crazy jump outs. I think also a smart idea. Otherwise, Cons is 100% out of a window at some point and probably getting another 2K.
NIP just sitting, waiting at the moment for that Furia push. Last defense that they are going to be trying to hold. And desperately, I think, want to lock this out because they know that it's not going to get any easier in the second half here. Furia just looking a little bit indecisive at the moment. Trying to clear out that utility. Still, drones going in down to 5 now. So NIP just slowly chipping away at those numbers. And it just feels a little bit like Furia not fully confident on where everybody is and what the challenges are that they need to clear out at the minute. It's still on the outside of the map in most cases. Now taking a little bit of top floor control and opening the hatch, but there's only 55 seconds left on the clock.
It's going to feel a bit like stepping into a minefield with the Banshees, the goo mines, the black eye cameras. Like, sure, the IQ is going to help speed that up, but still an awful lot to do. And across most of this half, we've seen them really start getting moving around about the 70-second mark. Here we're down to the last 45. They need to do something soon as a kill comes on through from Hertz. He's down in response. I think that was a trade coming out. Fantasy just below. Half using him as bait, but here comes Hates against him. Big 2K from himself here to get things moving. Finally getting the response, but a lot of the damage has been done until KZ gets one more back. Fantasy finishes off Hertz into a 2v2. Make it a 1v2 as Pino's backside is now firmly on the ground. Big requirement here. It'd be crazy if he pulls this off. Sure enough, JV ain't going to let him. Furia will get that 3-3 half they were after.
Yeah, I think Furia come away much happier out of that first half than NIP do in terms of the results. NIP got to be happy with their performances overall. They have looked pretty good, but a lot of that thinking back about it has come from unpredictability, from jump outs, from kind of turning over rounds that maybe they shouldn't have done and wouldn't have done on other days. So Furia, yeah, definitely happier with the 3-3 there. Switch on to the defense. Of course, it's their map choice, so NIP had the side choice to begin with. They chose defense, so you really do have to come away with a 4-2 minimum, I think. Right now, I think the expectation for a map win slides definitely in the direction of Furia here.
Sure. And probably even off the back of that, a series win if it builds up to it, truthfully. Like, I do expect this to be a 2-0, but like we were saying, we just didn't really know in which direction, which team was going to have more momentum coming in. And Furia have had a good half. However, we could also see NIP come out and have a brilliant half here. Let's not forget that earlier on, it was very attacker-sided. NIP come out here and get the 4-2. They win the map. No problem at all. It's about seeing how they go about doing it. That's the big one for me. Leaning once again in towards, at least for now, the double Nomad airlock. Nomad gridlock, that's the one. Lockdown off towards the stairs, for example, so there's no craziness going on. And I do think we'll probably see on the defender side a little bit of cheekiness. I think Furia, again, have probably looked back at that game earlier and just thought, yeah, we need to be willing to be aggressive here, get up in their faces a little bit more. Don't give them room to get established as the attackers in the same way that FaZe were doing to us.
Just looking towards that second map as well, not, you know, getting ahead of ourselves at this point. There's a lot of siege left to play. We're currently 3-3. if we make an assumption that Furia, given that it's their map pick and they're now on the defense, let's make an assumption that they come away with at least 4-2 and win this map and head into the second one. They did play Bank recently against Team Liquid, so it will have given NIP an opportunity to have seen and assessed that, but it was 7-3, pretty confident from Furia. I don't think that, you know, bodes particularly well for NIP.
No, it does not. But let's see how this second half plays out first and foremost. Still stayed in with that Nomad in the gridlock, no changes away. Dockerby, ever present for both teams, I think, as it's fair to say. It's incredibly powerful as an operator. Spoke about it's the absolute death 1,000,001 times by now, so I won't retread that ground entirely, but no surprises at all. And the Sens, I think, has featured as quite a staple of today, I think it's fair to say, Tim. It sounds weird to say Sens is a staple, but we're at that point, I think, especially maybe with Furia being influenced in these games. It's sort of out of phase, just in it out of NIP now as well. Everyone's playing it.
Yeah, we're certainly seeing a much higher pick rate since the changes. Yeah, since the changes came along, and they're not really time-based anymore. You can send that gadget out; it will remain there unless destroyed by an impact nade or something. You know, bring it up, put it down. You've got a lot of options with it. We have certainly seen an increase in pick rate. Since prior to that was rare, if ever. But now, yeah, definitely. I don't know. Off the top of my head, we'd maybe be looking at maybe a 20% or so pick rate. It's not. I don't think it's like wildly huge, but it's very good.
12%, but the win rate is not good. Actually, one of the lowest in the game right now. I'm pretty sure I just saw a second ago, down at 39.6%. Raura is the only one lower at 38.8%.
It's interesting because when you think about it, you know, when I think about the Sens players, and I think, you know, how many have I seen them win? You know, which big players do I remember winning? And the answer is probably, not that many. You know, I think the ones that do get one are one of two things. I think it's when the Sense gadget is used away from site. So, for example, on Cafe, kitchen attack, and it's used to screen off VIP, for example. I can remember a couple of rounds that have been won like that, rather than trying to create space for a plant specifically. It tends to be a little bit less successful because all teams do in those situations. Where we say, I'm thinking of Lair for Mask Wall, particularly. We've seen it used there a few times. And what tends to happen is that Toxic Babe canisters, Shimika launcher canisters just get sent in there blindly. It doesn't matter. You know that the plant's going to go down on the other side of it. It's kind of signaling the plant's going to go down in the default spot. So yeah, it usually gets dealt with reasonably well when it's used as direct protection for the planter. We did see, I'm very conscious that we did see on the Lair map earlier, I think it was the round was won when the Sense was up at Mask Wall, but it wasn't won based on that. It wasn't the plant going down. It was ultimately, I think FaZe just pushed through and got a couple of kills because they kind of had to. Philippox was dumping smokes in there, and they just had to react and find some kills, and they did. But yeah, I think, you know, as direct coverage for the planter, not amazing. As, you know, a specific niche use for making things like VIP less prominent, then yeah, it has more success.
Sure, it's I think teams also get, the more you see an operator as the thing is, the more teams learn to deal with it at the same time. Like, Raura is still one of those that I'm still waiting to see teams really kind of get to grips with and figure out some interesting use cases for, because I think the operator has definitely got a lot of potential, but teams are still figuring out what is the most optimal use case. And then it gets into that nature of, okay, then how do we see other sides responding? Like, what particular sites we see are being run on, various things that start to weigh into the equation. So we'll see how that sets to set up over time. Of course, you can see we're in a little tech pause here. Our first of the night, actually, Tim. We've done pretty well on tech pauses tonight.
I think we had one earlier. We had a little audio bug earlier, didn't we? Where we had to have a little rehost. But otherwise, yeah, it's been very...
It gives me a chance to ask, because people missed it at the start of the show. Tim,
you better be quick. They're going back in.
Let's go quick then. Garden update in 10 seconds. Go.
The garden update. Shredding is halfway done. Shredded waste, shredded... trees and bushes have gone into the veg patch. More will be going in. Fence has started to be painted. Couple of replacement panels going in. Patio cleaning continues. We're now at about 95%, and it's looking like the first patio that was ever laid in the world. It's absolutely beautiful. Honestly, the difference is absolutely ridiculous. I keep standing looking at it. So that's the major areas of progress. Next steps are going to be clearing out a lot of the waste, old concrete waste and things, from lifting the patio to clean it and relay it. So a lot of that's going to go. I'm going to sort that out. And when that does happen, I'm going to be getting rid of the lawn and stuff that's there at the minute. I need to do some more groundwork, ready for the decking to go in, hopefully in a couple of weeks. And I'll be rolling my sleeves up and doing that myself as well. So I'm surprisingly handy when it comes to it.
Sound like you're surprising yourself, mate. Certainly surprising me.
I've learnt a lot along the way, don't get me wrong.
That's part of the fun, mate. It's about the journey, as the Intel advert keeps on telling us during the breaks.
At the minute, it feels like it's more about getting the decking done so I can sit on it with a cold drink and my pizza oven fired up. That's what it feels like it's about at the minute.
Oh, looking forward to the invite, mate. I'm also looking forward to that pizza oven, because I remember when Ollie's had one before. It was pretty banging, so I'm down for more.
Yeah. Absolutely, we'll get that done. Ooh, we're gonna have some immediate aggression. Herds manages to take down Pino, beautiful headshot, and that's the buck gone. Big loss, big loss when you're looking at a lower floor site as well, down in kitchen, and that's going to remove a lot, if not all, of the verticality. It looks like Twitch has got the DMR, so there's an option to create some holes there. But if the plan was around getting that verticality and forcing players out of sight, they ain't going to be doing that. I think they'll be okay. They've still got the hard breach charges. They can still drop freezer. They can still work that side of things. But it is going to mean that Furia have a little bit more freedom in and around sight. It's the last thing NIP needed on the first attack.
It's like I was saying earlier, like FaZe were hitting Furia with this kind of stuff in their series, right? Lots of aggression early on, not strictly spawn peaks like that, but early in the round, hitting them before they got to the building, trying to constantly be up in their faces and putting them on edge. And Pino has paid the price there for not being attentive from the second the round gets underway. The Scorpion had his head bit off quite literally. They've lost the vertical soft destruction, as you said, and now they've got a lot of work to do. The blessing still being, of course, you've got a Monty you can play behind here. You can always get something done with the Monty, but you've also got to put some vertical pressure on the enemy team. Otherwise, they're going to sit here, wait for you to start getting in for a plant, and just punish you as you step in through doorways, through rotates, through anything. So it's still a tall order, I think, for NIP, but not the end of the world.
Wizard putting the secondary shotty to great use. It's a little bit of a slower process. You can't get it done anywhere nearly as quick or in as big a volume as the Buck can do it, but still grinding away and making sure they've at least got what they need. As you can see, the holes are pretty limited that are created there, so it does take some more doing. We're going to have this wall opened up, so that'll give the angle that they need to see down towards double door. And I think with a minute left to go, NIP looking pretty good, but Furia looking better.
I'm just happy to see the clock keep on running down, Tim. That's the important part, right? Sat inside a VIP, one's just waiting here for this push on forward to come through. Can they pull off a reverse fantasy? It was a 3K that he got from this exact spot where Herds is now. As the Monty's pushing on through, has an extra slow Monty. Also the blast coming in. It's a nice response to C4 up and over, but no, shot out. They've got to know a second player is here, ready to join, and sure enough, they've got the shutdown they need. 2 kills come out. NIP looking good in this round at this point, starting to fight their way back in.
Such an important shot from Fantasy to take that Nitro out and keep the Monty on the board. Wizard finds KZ, and as you say, this NIP attack is now building some serious momentum. Flash goes in, they know they've got one stuck in reception. Opportunity to put the diffuser down, but they don't have it in hand because Cons was dropped in the meantime. But Wizard does collect and can go in. They know that they've got this player trapped. They're just waiting for them to pop out. JV taken down. Hits grabs the round, and NIP from, I won't say nowhere, but from certainly not the best start, losing the Buck to begin with. They got that vertical work done with the secondary shotty anyway, and managed to get in and get that win. Nicely done, and like I say, really important shot from Fantasy onto that Nitro, taking that out. Otherwise, they lose the Monty, and maybe it's a bit of a different outcome, but great stuff from him.
Maybe that entry curse is persisting here, Tim. Get the entry and lose the round. It's a Furia thing. I don't know what it is. That's one of those where they've had that man advantage. They've held on. All they've got to do is be willing to play as a team there and outman really the side of NIP as they come walking on through. But they've left the man inside of VIP to get punished. They've lost every other gunfight they could possibly take and just been completely shut down there. Really well played by NIP. Furia, maybe one of those rounds they come back to look at later and just say that's one we really should not have found ourselves losing. And I really hope after that round, NIP were in the all chat spamming KKKKK as well, after Herds did so after getting the entry onto Pino in the first place.
Round 8. And it will continue. You feel like Furia need to get this, otherwise they're 2 down and they've lost their first 2 defenses. It maybe just starts putting those thoughts and feelings into their mind again that they faced against FaZe, knowing that the map might just be heading away from them. NIP have shown a great ability so far. Once they get a round or 2 ahead, as they did against W7M, we're able to, for the most part, keep the pressure on, make it difficult for them to get back in. These work both ways. You got to be careful, KZ. Goes for the spray through the barricade at the beginning. Doesn't hit anybody, but the shots just get returned. And it is a little bit of chip damage. It builds up over the round.
At the end of the board, he's also got Herds on side who can juice him up, as he's just done right now. Would have been very unfortunate, of course, he was caught on the headshot. Didn't anticipate a player might be off towards the left of the window. More thought it'd be directly ahead coming out of standard spawn, but hey, yeah, everyone's okay. No one's taking any damage anymore. Healed up, of course, by the dock. And we carry on as if nothing had ever happened. But it's that reminder again for NIP that you have to respect that early aggression. The Fury are going to keep on showing it to you. Eyes on, of course, for NIP is going to be on that glass. Packing in behind those smokes. We've got 4 of them to play behind. We saw a beautiful smoke execute earlier on this exact map, actually. It was W7M who pulled it off, and a slither of little opportunity was left for the Clash to be able to spray down the planter. Without that, it probably would have gone on to win the round. So one, of course, being mindful of here for NIP, they could yet try much of the same. In fact, 3 of those smokes are down. They start their push on forwards here. Plant is going down really, really shallow. It's Cons going for it. Casey gets rid of Hates. The Dockerby's gone, but the plant should get finished off here. No! Just stopped out there. Saw his health going down, but it was the C4 that connected in the end and will stop NIP from being able to get away with this. They're now down to a 3 versus 4, Tim, but we've been here before and they've still managed to get the job done.
Yeah, that's huge from KZ. They really needed to stop that plant going down. He is low health now, but Herds does have 1 stim left in pocket, so might be able to juice one of these 2 back up. You can see that NIP just suffer into the utility. Philippox manages to find Wizard, just going to continue being a nuisance from underneath. Cigar Shop is a punishment for Pino as Nade manages to find him. 4v1, the pressure is increasing. Herds with the final kill, and Furia, that was the response they needed. They didn't want to get too behind here with NIP building up momentum on the attack. We saw them do it on Cafe earlier. Furia just trying to put a stop to it early, get themselves back into things. 4-4, and they will continue their defense in the mid floor. It's going to be reading room.
Yeah, much better there. I mean, NIP almost got away with it. That plant goes down, then you've got to try and go and clear out Cigar, top red, everything before you can get the defuse down, and you have to worry about vertical. Would have been horrible to deal with, so it was great they managed to get the C4 off in the time that they did. I think it was only down to about a second ago before that timer expired, but they hold on. They clean up the round being the most important part. They don't find themselves losing from a man advantage situation. Good stuff from Furia. 4 apiece, Tim, and it's starting to feel really hard to actually drive a wedge between these 2 teams right now. If it carries on as we are, overtime is all but guaranteed.
Yeah, it's certainly looking that way, isn't it? It's no separation whatsoever. I still have a feeling one of these 2 teams is going to grab a hold of it, and we'll see them just get a couple of rounds back to back. Whether it's going to be Furia on the defense or not, I guess we'll see. But right now, NIP just seem to have the little pocket players. They have the little gunfight wins that get them into the round, and then they're able to continue doing the damage to Furia. But we head into the action phase, and how many of Furia are up on this top floor? 3 out of 5. They are digging in, and they're going to try and prevent that top floor approach, but it's not going to last so long as Fantasy manages to take down Herds. That's one of the top 4 players. The Legion is gone. It's a big loss with those goo mines, and a little KKK returned in the chat.
Absolutely. I mean, after the early round against Pino, why wouldn't you? 100% you're going to go for that one. Good start out with the entry for NIP, though. This surely gives them that advantage where they can be the one to start taking charge in the round. Spot that there is a pulse on the downstairs. See that little pop-up coming through from the IQ. They know that Nade is lurking somewhere nearby. So every move they take around red stairs at this point is going to be spotted out. That's the one thing they have to know, is that as they move through this round, everything they do is probably going to be identified by Furia, and then they have to respond in kind. Almost a freebie coming out, but no! Don't even land a single shot there, and what an opportunity that could have been.
Yeah, a little bit of a loss for NIP there, as you say, could have really got them going. But they are happy, I think, at this point to play their game. They've got their opener. They can, you know, just continue to build that pressure. 3 of them now established inside of the map up on that top floor. And they're not really playing for that control. Instead, choosing to pressure towards mining and trading. The site is over in reading, but maybe just going to try and move across. I don't know. They have headed... They need to get top floor, realistically. They can't allow those players to stay inside of Cocktail because they're just going to hold them from above and deny any plant attempt that they make. They can cover most of Dining and Reading from that position in barback storage and Cocktail. So NIP continue the fight. Wizard manages to find KZ up on the top floor, and this hold is starting to be broken apart for Leapox, the last alive in Cocktail, the last hope really for Furia.
Sure. However, I was about to say, in a 3 versus 4, it's doable. In a 2 versus what could soon be a 5, if they retrieve cons. I don't know about that one, Chief. I don't know about that one. 45 seconds to go. And yes, the information may well be with Furia because you've still got Nade running around on this pulse, but the damage has been done. There's no C4 to play behind. It's the attackers that have got every bit of advantage here. 35 seconds with which to work. They know that Nade is down at the bottom of white, so there can only possibly be one player around site itself. It's all starting to turn up their way now. The attackers can surely get this one over the line. Plant going down. No one there to stop them, unfortunately. No C4s or nothing. Brown stairs. Wizards watching. Maybe with it all to do. A flawless round coming out for NIP. Very, very fluid attack there that left nothing for the other side to get into the round. Yeah,
what a response from NIP. Furia had got themselves around and were looking a little bit more competitive. You thought they might build a bit of momentum on the defense, but NIP constantly disrupting them, not allowing them to get anywhere in terms of that scoreboard and chaining rounds together. Just constantly breaking that momentum and constantly forcing Furia to look backwards, to look to the previous round and say, what went wrong? What do we need to change? What do we need to adapt? Great stuff coming out of NIP. They're going to take the Clash away as well. It's always an interesting one because you might look at that and think, why have they banned the Clash? It's not been used. You know, Furia haven't played it yet. But what we've seen as a little bit of a development with this new banning system is that teams sometimes won't use that operator for their first 3 rounds because they want to use it for the last 3. So they kind of keep it off the table and then bring it out once the banning phase has happened, trying to, you know, bait teams into thinking, oh, we don't need to ban it. They're not using it. So, yeah, sometimes there can still be a value in actually saying, no, our plans revolve around not having to play into a clash. We're going to take that away, not give them the option to bring it in 10, 11, 12.
Sure, we've seen the Clash really be a bit of a nightmare at different points today. You know, actually, NIP were the ones who made very good use of it. Cons the play that we look to. And so not at all surprised to see it being taken away by them, not one to be on the receiving end of a play like that. NIP, though, now, with that, at least it's a 1-round advantage. It's far from the end of the world for Furia, but it's a spot where they can get towards this map point and potentially push themselves up to that 1-0. Need 2 more to get it done. Furia still chasing at least 2 to get to overtime, 3 to get the win overall. Too early to kind of call it either way just yet. We'll see, of course, how this side plays out, which should then start to give us a better idea of what we're facing against, either all 12 rounds of regulation, or NIP forcing Furia to have to play catch-up for a couple of rounds.
JV just roaming around red stairs. We've got Fleapox over on white stairs, so they've got both methods of getting up and down covered, but it's more about the flanks here, possibly. We do have Wizard on the gridlock. If NIP go in and take top floor, take mid floor, get those stairs locked off with the track stingers, it gives them a lot of freedom. Last time around, we have seen the book lost on this attack, but they still made it possible with that secondary shotgun. It was back in round 7. They were able to get the win. Furia now choosing to go back to that bottom floor here. It's already inside a reading room. So NIP have got in here. I love this. Not messing about, just getting straight on in, getting that map control. They're just playing really confidently.
It's about that 130 benchmark that we spoke about earlier you're looking for, right? Before they start getting the verticals opened up that they need. Pino, thankfully, hasn't been hit off the rip by Herd, so can do a lot of work up there if required. It's just starting to build also around Akery Fantasy, the one who's dancing around this door, just kind of trying to sleuth his way on through. Disrespect being shown by the other side there. They never know what's going to come running on through that door, whether it's a shield, whether it's And no, certainly not on my list of things that I would come to expect. There is, of course, one of my magnets to help capture any nades that could come in from Fantasy to force them to move away. And here we go. Starts to move on forward. He saw the head step up there, and no, Nade's got him covered. Even as his vision faded, had the chance to get the kill, but Nade is the one who comes out on top. NIP, they lose too. It looks like Furia might just hold on.
Like this game's attached to a rubber band at the minute. It just keeps pinging one direction to the other. And this time it is Furia in the driving seat, certainly in charge. We see the smoke canisters just in front of VIP there. Little bit of cover is being offered by Wizard. They're just trying to, I think, force Herds out of position here by putting that smoke in his way. It's almost like he has to push forward and then Wizard can take him out, but they're not going to need to. Double kill comes in. KZ takes a swing onto Pino. Meanwhile, Herds finds one. Herds finds another. Takes down Wizard. And anything you can do, they can do just as well. A flawless round it is in the previous round for NIP and a flawless round in this for Furia.
It's proving to be one of those games, Tim. You just don't know who walks away the winner. We said it coming in, and now we're saying it at the end of round 10. It's impossible to call which way it goes. It's proving to be such a split down the middle kind of game. Good round, though, from Furia, granted. Got themselves in a very, very solid spot there. Dealt with everything NIP were bringing to them. It's just turning into that one where both sides are really having to throw their all at it. We're going to go to Fireplace Mining for round 11. We're guaranteed to see all 12. But is it end 7-5 or does overtime for the first time tonight kick in?
I mean, it's worth reminding everybody the stakes that we're playing for at this point, given how hard these two teams are fighting. We are in the lower bracket final. So what is up for grabs here? Well, it's a spot in that grand final against FaZe. And why is that so important?
Yay.
Your
prize is the grand final against FaZe.
Why is it so important? It all comes down to SI points and qualification to SI. So if you finish 3rd, 4th or 5th, then you end up with 50 SI points out of the playoffs. Second place gets 150. First place gets 300. So by winning this match, you guarantee yourself at least another 100 because you would get 50, but by getting into grand final, it's at least 150. So it is a huge difference. That is far too easy for Herds. He's starting to get running, takes down Cons, and it's a big loss. Just like they did to Furia, the sense has been taken out.
They're just not really learning the lesson here is the problem. Like, they started out with it in round 7. They brought along the Striker. They got along the Claymores to help try and deal with this kind of stuff. And now they've just been completely bitten off by it again. You know, Herd's done it to Pino earlier in the half. You've really got to be learning your lesson at this point, NIP. Otherwise, you're just inviting Furia straight into the game here to get things closed out because you're not learning from these things that are biting you. That's an interesting one. Felipe's going down super early. That's not great. Those Evil Eyes now doing no zapping. Of course, the concern more being that the Brava's going to roll on through and steal a bunch of them away, but still really not ideal that you've lost what is really your hard anchor in this lineup so early in the round.
No, it's not great at all. You can see it being monitored, but that's it. It's been grabbed out.
Nom.
They might do a bit of zapping now because the control has been passed over. Fantasy manages to take down Nade with an absolute beauty through the mining window. Then gets himself on the rappel straight up to Piano to start pressuring Pixel. Furia on the back foot once again. 4 versus 3. NIP.
Just another fantasy moment, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, in on the drones, come off it, instantly dome somebody. What's the problem? Why is everyone screaming? Ugh, it's horrible. 4 versus 3 for now as they try another run out. I'm afraid it ain't going to work out quite the same this time around here, Furia. Before me once, shame on you. For me twice, shame on me. Definitely applies at least to rounds. It might just be after that their memories get wiped and we go all over again.
It certainly could be. It's all that way a little bit tonight. But, yeah, that is going to be punished this time. No sense on side. Doesn't really matter. We're just going to come through and kill everybody instead. Fantasy manages to pick up Herds. Doesn't get the final one. KZ does manage to pick up a headshot onto him for a trade. But it leaves KZ 1v4 to a 1v3 cut down by a Wizard. End of the round for NIP. And look at the value they got out of that verticality. Final kill comes in from above on to the man at Pillars. But even then, there was damage being done consistently from above. It was great stuff from NIP. Got control of the map and used it well. Punish Furia 6-5 now, and it's going to be NIP that have the opportunity to close this one out.
And they'll be relishing that. Mind you, again, this is Furia's map hit that we came into. NIP taking away our second one of Bank. They're really fancying getting it done in a 2 if they can win the first map. Otherwise, it's a case, like I say, of sending us through to that third. I can imagine NIP coming out the victor going into that second map. But crazy things have happened. The night is still young, or the series is still young. The night certainly is. We've already gone through 2 best-of-3s in 4 hours. It was rapid time sprinting. This could yet prove to be a series that eclipses them both if it goes the full distance. Clubhouse awaits for us as that third map, if required. So I can see, again, a world where NIP could 2-0 this if they can get this map over the line and then go and do the same on Bank. They're putting all the chips on the table here for this top floor defense. They're getting themselves set up nicely with more of the same. And the sentry pick coming out as an interesting one. I thought maybe lean towards something else again, like the Wamai, or maybe bring along another shield, but really wanted to lean into having both impacts and those C4s. Interesting, I imagine, probably those impacts all being brought along for the sense. We know it can destroy that light wall. They're having a C4, well, that's what we saw earlier on with the attempted plant just inside the doorway from Cigar. Not surprised that they want another C4 on side 2.
Very conscious now, NRP, of any early round aggression. Don't want to lose cons again. On that sense on side, as you say, impact nades abound. Nade does pick up Pino. It's going to be the Nomad, not the sense this time. So that might, I would say, free up the flanks, free up the jump outs a little bit. But there is still Wizard on side to at least offer that flank watch cover with the track stingers. Not really going to be effective against any jump outs or peaks, of course, where the air jab may be a little bit more useful. But 4 versus 5. And I'm not going to say that it looks like we're heading there just yet, but over time it's becoming a very real possibility. Especially when they lose the entry like that. Absolutely. Again, really hard to separate these 2 teams at all right now. It feels like it's more than justified. Shield inside of Sora is going to have to get dealt with at some point. Very much a power positioning towards both Piano and on towards that cigar shop door. So for the defenders, that's a spot they want to keep protected. And sure enough, in a spot the attackers want cleared out. That's why nades are now in hand, rolling in towards that shield. You maybe hope that ADSs could help out there, but I'd expect they're more focused on towards Pixel instead to help give more cover in towards this side of the building itself. And so for the most part, NIP, the focus is actually getting inside the building here. Splashes rain on through, and nade probably to follow to try and clear out all of those ADSs. Should start to force the defenders back at least slightly as we hit that halfway mark of the round. Yeah, I haven't seen a nade make it through there. Didn't see an explosion. ADS still online. Doc's going to juice himself up. 3 versus 5, and Furia are holding on so well here. Nade manages to find cons. All the pressure left from NIP is in Piano and Cigar, and Furia are well aware. They are lining them up, shooting them through the hatch. It's a flawless round. They just don't seem to be able to do 2 in a row, Des, but they have done enough to take us to overtime. All right, one way to keep things interesting. Both teams, again, hard to drive a wedge between them on who comes away. We've had the 3-3 halves from both teams, so you can't really argue whether it's an attack or a defender-sided map or which team is really seeing the advantage right now. Fans restored in once again. NIP remain on that attacking side. Can they do something a little bit differently here? We're going to start out on that top floor again. Why wouldn't Fury? They've just had a flawless round up there and have won that site twice, I believe, in that second half in pretty convincing fashion. Played it back in round 8 where they won it and only lost 1 player. So it seems to be the point where NIP really struggle to break through is on this top floor. It's true for both teams, actually, because Furia couldn't win on this site either. Back in the first half, it was pretty convincing them from NIP. So I think we'll get to round 15 and it'll be the offsite that then determines who walks away the winner. Have we found the only match where the top floor is the best defensive side? I don't know. You tell me, Des. But it certainly does, like you say, seem that it's been one that they've been able to hold on to. So, maximum of 3 rounds left to go. You need to win by 2 if you want to finish it early. But one way or another, it will end in 15 if it... You did have to be curious, actually. Is that still true that the top floor was by far and away the worst defender site? It's actually not at the moment. I wouldn't say by far and away, but it's improved. But at one point it was. It's still not great. It was 40% win rate for defenders. Yeah. It was awful. It's still, even when it improves, which it does at points in time, it's still usually best at 50-50. Which is not great for a defensive side. It's not if it's going to be your primary choice. Not if you're saying that's the defensive side to go to. 50-50 is not good. Well, for those who are curious, across Reload and the stage so far, how it has stacked up is that Kitchen is our most defender-sided site.
56.3%. Fireplace and Mining second at 55%. And then Bar and Cocktail is third at 54 before Reading and Fireplace steps in down at 49%. However, it is the most played site, and normally if something is played more, its win rate will skew downwards because it's being played by more people more widely. It's more chance for things to go wrong or for poor teams to default to playing on that site when forced to. So I'd say actually overall it's a pretty balanced map as far as the different sites go.
It is at the moment. It is.
So
for now, it always changes. It always changes. Fantasy is going to be getting in underneath on the Dokkaebi. We did hear first of those calls going out, so it will be a matter of probably about 15 to 20 seconds, I think, until that next one is available. You can see it just totting up on his player card, the little white circle surrounding the 0. Once that reaches the top, it will go to 1, and he'll have another call available, which will be at the 1 minute 30 mark.
Absolutely. Keep on chucking through for now. No early deaths coming out. No, neither team really looking. We had this actually in the game earlier on between FaZe and Furia when it came down to the last round of Lair. It suddenly went from being a very aggressive game to being a very, very passive one where neither team wanted to be, you know, the ones getting caught out too early on or trying anything risky and costing their team the game. So it's trying to be cautious probably here in the same sort of fashion. These last 3 rounds are where things really start to build up, and Pino, great shot on towards JB there. As much as JB tried to get the reverse angle, couldn't quite find it in time. Advantage to NIP as a call rings on through, just to keep them safe if nothing else here. Knowing there's no response, and Fantasy hits 2. Finally gets traded out. Actually gets to trade himself on the exit with Herds there. A 1v4, and Furia will find themselves down here. NIP will step up towards map point, but as said, they will move on from defense next, and you would expect them to come away as the winner there. A great round from NIP regardless.
Yeah, Fantasy's absolutely flying at the minute. I'm just waiting for our stats to update because the ones on screen are after we had a little rehost. So he has got a few more kills than it's currently showing on screen. So we'll get you updated with his current totals. 18 and 10. So he could be on for a big 20 bomb here, could Fantasy. He's been going brilliantly, to be honest. He's really been a catalyst for NIP. He's been able to get in there. You know, he's had what 1, 2, 3 multi kills now, 3k then in round 13, 3k in round 11, 4k back in round 3. Very, 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 very influential.
I mean, on the other side, it feels weird to talk about in this way, but Philippox having a torrid time. 2 and 10, 0 and 3 on the entry. Like, it has not been his game. I think the rehost kind of masked how difficult a game he's been having so far. Some work to do, and sure enough, attack timeout coming in here from Fury. They know this is their last chance saloon because, admittedly, Tim, one thing I missed there at the end of the round, of course, that was an attacking round win from NIP. They've won on a site that they hadn't won during regulation. Now they're going to the defense, and I imagine they're going to that top floor. You give a massive advantage over towards NIP being able to close out a defense, given the trend on this site so far. In fact, no, they're going down to Kitchen, down in the basement now. That is definitely a change away from what we expected.
It is. Looking at the sites that were won by NIP on the defense, to be fair, they lost Kitchen in round 1, but it was down to a 1v1. It was, you know, maybe one that they should have won. And then we saw them win it in round 3. And that was it. So they're kind of 50-50 on it at the minute, but I think they'll be in their mind thinking, nah, really, that should be 100% win rate down there. You know, it was a 1v1 gunfight at the end. That can always, you can lose that either way. So NIP probably pretty confident coming in here. They did manage to, I think, if I'm right in saying it, they got a kill last time around when they won it. They got a kill. There was a serious lack of verticality available for Fury. I'm looking across the lineup, and yeah, it was Philippox that was taken out first, so they lost the knock, and they just didn't really have much of an option to get any verticality established above site. So again, if NIP can lean into that, you know, and maybe you don't get to choose them, but if they can take Nade out early here, it could be an absolute killer for this Furia side.
Absolutely. Well. Really feels like all the pressure's on Furia, and this is their one to lose. And well, NIP's to lose, really. It's Furious to win. Got to do the very best they can and figure this one out, but it's going to require some real heroics, and Herds has kind of been that player for them so far that's been doing the hard yards when required. For a second, I was like, surely Cons don't fancy a cheeky one here. He's got himself the impact, doesn't he? He sure enough does. Finds 1 and finds 2! Just like that, you break Furia's dreams of getting Cafe over the line. Oh man, gotta work something real spectacular now. I said it was hard before, now it's almost impossible, but Herd still stands, and whilst he does, there's a chance.
It could only have been marginally worse had they got the sledge. That at least leaves Furia something. But Deimos and Sense, 2 huge losses in terms of utility. What I'm at a loss for words at how Furia have been punished by that again.
I think you'd learn after the first 5, 6, 7 times. But alas, with how things have played out today, they absolutely have not. To be fair, we were saying the same about NIP. You know, Pino getting caught on the rip, and then not long after seeing Cons get ripped in the same way. They've just done it back. They've dealt the damage back when it mattered most. Got 2 kills, not just the 1. And that could be where it all ends. It'll be a reminder for Herds to talk less in all chat, and the team can still bite you back in the same way. Furia trying to figure out how on earth they make this one work, but it's looking nigh on impossible here, Tim. They're going to have to win their ones, most importantly, because they can't afford to double up on individual players anymore.
Yeah, NIP are just going to sit on their angles. They're not going to give anything away. Fantasy just got lucky there. He turned away at the wrong moment, thought the pressure was coming from window, but it was actually bottom white stairs that the challenge came in from, and nearly lost his life. He sees the shadow. He has all the pre-warning that he needs. Fantasy takes down Herds with a headshot, and things go from bad to worse for Furia. NIP 5 versus 2 now, 30 seconds left to go, and surely they seal the deal here in Kitchen.
They don't lose this one from here, Tim. I've never seen a team lose it from this position, not when there's this little time left and the team does not have any real map control. It's nigh on unwinnable. So when it comes round to Consulate, that's what we're all going to be talking about. But the hero at the moment, 100% is Cons. A big 2K run out, turns it into a 3rd. And now Nade can do nothing but look on, knowing that his team have got the business to do now. They've got to go and win both Consulate and Club if they want a rematch against FaZe in the final. But NIP go 1-0 up in the series, taking away Furia's map pick. The reality that we face, it could be them snatching away at least 150 SI points in that grand final against FaZe tomorrow. It all depends how this map plays down. And of course, if we need it, how Clubhouse shakes up as well. Bank, NIP's map choice, in we go, starting with our bans. First one going to be, I imagine, a Hard Breacher. No, Blackbeard Shield going away, and a Mirror, Tim.
I mean, you know, we kind of thought that NIP were back. I think we just didn't realise how back they were, because...
True that.
Right now, they are looking fantastic. Blackbeard Ying and Mirror Azami. No major surprises other than the fact, as you've picked up on, Des, that they haven't gone for the Ace Hibana combo on the attacking bans there to prevent that ranged breach of the Kanto wall that gives the line of sight all the way down to the vending machine and to stock corridor. So other than that, it should be pretty easy for NIP to get that angle opened up if they want to use it. I don't think it's necessarily as impactful as we're thinking. That ban, the top floor still, in general terms, doesn't have a fantastic attacker win rate, I don't think, even with the possibility of taking those hard breaches away. So I think, you know, a lot of it comes down more to dealing with Janitor and getting underneath if you need to, or having a plan to deal with that mirror window, which isn't going to be a problem because NIP, unsurprisingly, have taken it away. They don't want Herds anywhere near that whatsoever. But for the time being, we're going to be looking at a basement to kick things off. That's going to be the first defense for Furia.
Absolutely no surprise at all. It's where most teams start on this map. I think it's very rare that you see them go elsewhere these days. Like, you get the balance on what site you go to afterwards, and everyone at first was like, oh god, we're just going to never see top floor. Well, never see top floor anymore because can't jump out anymore. It's hard to defend. Why would defenders go there? But we have seen it picked up quite a fair whack, to be fair. You know, teams have found ways to adapt to that, different ways that they can play around things. Banning away double hard breach, which is what I expected, lets you play all of this white corridor that you just saw on your screen a second ago. So there are options, there are alternatives, but we'll see where we step to in round 2. For now, of course, it's focusing on getting this map clear done, making sure we've got control, especially this part here, in towards open and staff. Very common to see a defender sat on that hatch, taking down some drones, wasting a little bit of time, but not overstaying their welcome to the level that they eventually get picked off and leave their team 4v5 down on the site itself, which is why JV has dropped away. And now really it should give all the space in the world for NIP to get the control they need of this first floor and start thinking about their execute.
Yeah, 45 seconds and 1 minute and 5 seconds respectively for those two players, Nade and Herds, to be forced back away. Sorry, Nade and JV92 to be forced back away towards site. Herds is going to be locked in. I was going to say to blue stairs, but he's actually dropped away as well. Must have felt the mounting pressure, knew that that server hatch was going to be getting opened up, and they wanted him back on site. Quite often that shotgun, the SAS shotgun, will be playing their entire life on blue stairs to keep them out of there, but to be honest, they don't really have the utility to back it up. No Wamai, no Jaeger, no smoke, no warden, so it's kind of understandable that they've dropped away from that position, and NIP should have all the map they need. The next question is now, can they deal with the utility, and can they create the space they need?
That's the big thing, right? You can have as much of the map as you want, but if you're leaving it too late to deal with any potential C4s, to deal with smoke, to deal with Chanka fire, to deal with the Vulcan canisters, all these things can still hurt you, even when it feels like everything is sort of ready and going your way. This player actually at the top of blue gets one. Herds, will he come for the second? Yes, he will! Fantasy! Question marks on the sprint there, my friend. You knew he just swung one, man. Hoping to chase the man down blue stairs, I expect. But Herds, he weren't leaving. He was coming back for a second and then for a third. And just when it felt like NOP had all the control they needed, they get absolutely clapped back on by Furia. And Hates, well, I don't think he can do it all by himself. He might get a kill back. All that's going to do is deny away the flawless round though, Tim, because Hates has got to go massive here. And somehow, I don't think a team like Furia are going to let that one happen. They take that first round off the back of Herds, going absolutely massive.
Little bit lax from NIP there, unfortunately. Yeah, so what's happened is Herds has dropped away from blue stairs, and I think they're aware of that. But if you notice, there was a mute jammer right up at the top of blue stairs next to the door. So they can't get a drone in there to sort of double check that or to keep an eye on it. Really, NIP should have been confirming that blue stairs was clear, even if they thought it was, and they should have been taking that mute jammer out so that they could play a drone in there, so that there was something as a deterrent for somebody moving back into that position. They just never dreamed that Herds would come running back on in, and they've completely taken their eye off the ball with it, and Herds has punished them big time. 3 kills from the top of there. Brilliant stuff from him. Just, you know, sometimes you got to take a gamble. He's done that. It's paid off. Great stuff. Furia 1-0.
All right. Herds definitely setting the pace. However, I say this a lot about teams. I think about G2 when I say this, at least G2 of old, definitely not modern G2, is a lot of the round wins that they would often pick up will be based on a 3K or a 4K. Hero players, I call them at the time. It's one player donning the Superman cape and going absolutely massive for them in a given round. And it doesn't always suggest that the team would have won if not for that individual moment. You can't discount it entirely, but Herds there has got a 3K on blue stairs. The actual site setup itself was never tested. We don't know if the lack of a smoke and only having a Chanka was going to have a big impact on the attack itself or not. Those are questions that will always remain unanswered because Herds has done the business for them in round 1. And so I'll say the same thing now that I always say when I see a team doing a similar thing, having one player going massive. I still want to see a couple more rounds to see if the team are able to stand up here against NIP's attacks, or if that one really was a bit of a flash in the pan where Herds has got them around that otherwise they wouldn't be able to get over the line.
In goes the Rotero. It's going to be looking for any barbed wire on the spiral stairs, which it will find. So that is going to free up that path to scoot the Yokai drone. That could have been extra value there if the Yokai drone hadn't been being controlled. But the Yokai drone will be scooted to safety for the time being. More utility chewed up by the Flores. So great progress to begin with. Herds is still in his favoured position of janitor closet. Doesn't have the mirror window to play behind, but it's to be hoped that NIP have got a plan. They know that he's going to be in that position. They know that he's going to play his entire round there. If they let him, he'll deny the plan. He'll do absolutely everything. So they need to have a plan to get rid of him.
A lot of the utility they need to at least get themselves inside the building as well, right? You got that dock would be cool to come out, the smokes, the fire, to move the defenders around, the glass peering through, hoping to find someone. You see this quite a lot where there's this kind of stalemate in a way where they need to find a way to pressure the Janitor's player if they want to be able to play the windows successfully. Fire coming on through is doing enough to force them to drop down. Good stuff here as well as started to force players away. Fantasy on the march on up, and they know about this. Yes, they do. But of course, it's a clash in behind a shield. There is a trade to come out. But a lot of that work is done. That backwards pressure dealt with. It hasn't stopped the actual plant itself going down on site as Cons in the back of it. Off the back of his own smoke has got the work done. And now it's panic stations for Fury. They've got to find a way to recover here, Tim. And this is one damn hard site to recover.
Yeah, NIP have won the round realistically. There's no option to go out of the windows anymore. Hang on a minute. This could be a hell of a play if he's got himself just inside of the bookcase there. He's looking to... that's not ideal. It's just going to, I think, take away that cover he was relying on. But can they get the angle here? The window cover is in place. Yes. They do manage to take him off it, and as I said, it was always going to be very, very difficult. JV does manage to find Pino, who'd made a last gasp effort in there. They've left one on the windows. The time has run down, and NIP do manage to hold on. It was a little bit closer than I thought it might be in the middle of that, but ultimately, what impressed me in that round was NIP had a perfect plan for Janitor. They knew Herds was going to be in there. It was dead simple. Open up a little hole at the top of the wall, send it in, the Capitao arrow through there. The fire forces Herds out of position, and as soon as that had happened, the smoke goes in through the window. Capitao's in, he's planting, he's back out of the window. Absolutely beautiful stuff from NIP.
Yeah, really, really good, clean stuff. I mean, in fact, they had so many threats to deal with, C4s, yokais, you name it. There was a lot that could have stopped them there, but they made sure they dealt with everything before they went in there and went for the plants. It was good patience and good discipline being shown. This is what I meant at the end of round one. Like, you could look at that and go, wow, Furia have just absolutely rolled that round. Like, they're looking great here on Bank. Herds was looking great here on Bank in that one individual moment. Now you're starting to see that NIP can indeed step into the game and play pretty successfully. That one apiece starting up now, of one team winning off the back of one player, the other one winning off the back of a really good execute as a team, probably shows that NIP are going to be no slouches. We're going to go to Bar and Open for this next one. Bar and Open? Staff and Open. See how this one plays out. And by the looks of it, from the side of Furia, you got a couple of players up on the top floor. I doubt Casey stays down here now with him barricading this all off. But there are going to have to be roamers for NIP to go and deal with first before they can start thinking about the site itself, unless Cons wants to just full send it in with the shield.
You never know. You never know when it comes to Cons. We've seen some big moments from him so far, but I'm not sure full sending is going to be the answer. Quick progress into stock, though. Look at this, getting aggressive. Going to be Hates moving across. And he's just actually got away with that. He's just walked all the way across stock. There is somebody in there that's tasked with watching that. Herds is going to be the one on Overwatch there, but just as he turns away, they move on through and the Deimos gets established.
Absolutely. It's that combo again, though, right? The Deimos, the Dokkaebi. Speak it into existence. The death, the fantasy, certainly not going to help. But, and also the Blitz going down, that is most definitely not going to help at all. But it's back and forth between the two, to be fair, Tim. They are this is crazy. Look, we're barely even looking at the site yet. There is all this back and forth going on between them upstairs. We've got rid of two very critical operators on the side of NIP in the form of the Dokkaebi and the Blitz. On the other side, though, you've lost the C4 of Herds and you've lost the Yokais. That information is still there and available from those drones, but they will not be stopping any plant going down anytime soon.
Yeah, they've all been forced back to site here of Furia in the 3 versus 3. Tracks are coming on in from the Deimos as well. Just thinking about taking his shots. Won't quite find its mark. It leaves us still 3 versus 3, but it certainly means KZ's had to move deeper into sight there to keep himself out of that line of danger that could have come in from the Deimos. NIP just kind of having a little run around upstairs at the minute. They're not really making any progress up here. I was going to say the soft breaching wasn't happened. They now have got that started, and they're looking to continue applying pressure here. Shots again kind of raining on around, but small amounts of damage being done, nothing major.
Nah, nothing else, just to roll out those side panels, I think, as well. So maybe you get a long angle in from the kitchen step in. I don't know. But it's one of those where, for now at least, the defenders don't look all that bothered. Still only 3 piece on either side, so it's been that kind of calmness for the last 60 seconds after what was a manic flurry for the first 90 seconds of the round or so. My expectation from Wizard, there is a player starting to push him here, and the fire comes on through. Philippots can't do an awful lot, but elsewhere, it's Casey getting rid of Hates. They take with one hand and give with the other. Both teams neck and neck as we get towards the last 20 seconds.
In go the Grim Bees. That is going to signal, no doubt, a little bit of movement here.
I know where both are.
Where NIP try to push in and get aggressive. They need to win the gunfights. They will pre-fire 1 versus 1. Pino picks it up, and again, NIP have the answers, Des. It was a back and forth round. They were able to gain that intel at the end and use it to maximum effect. NIP with another successful attack.
Yeah, I mean, that round was a weird one because, as I said, it was so 1 for 1 throughout the entire thing, all the way down to the last kill. Pino getting rid of KZ, who in the round got himself a 3K, but just couldn't close out onto Pino at the end. The big problem there being that one of those Grim Bees spotted out both players, so constant pings coming through on their location, and it was all too easy for NIP to step forward and collect what they needed to. And I don't think it's so much a rage ban against that last round in particular, but the Grim being taken away makes a lot of sense. Very, very potent operator. Lots of teams love playing it. Just very good in that situation, as you saw there, to restrict movement of defenders, or at the very least, give over a lot of info to the attackers. But NIP starting strong after our first quarter, Tim. In a couple of close rounds, admittedly, but they're still up 2-1, and that's all that counts.
Back down to the basement, Furia go. If we have a look at how this has already gone, it's not been plain sailing for Furia, we can say that. Last time they tried to defend down in the basement, they were successful. As you quite rightfully pick up on, Des, it was down to a Herd's hero play. You know, we often talk about these hero plays, that you can't rely on them round after round, and Furia certainly haven't been playing their most solid of siege today. And they have been quite reliant on those moments. Herd stepped up to the top of blue stairs. NIP made the mistake. They allowed him. They left the gap, and he certainly was happy to step in there and take the triple kill that it granted him. But ultimately, you just can't see that happening again here in another round. The Echo has been taken away. We've seen quite a lot of Echo play today, so there will be no Yokai drones. And unsurprisingly, the Grim has gone the other way, given the impact that it had in round 3.
Absolutely. Well, we've got a shield matchup coming out here between the Monty and the Clash. A little bit different these days, granted. Before, it was more about damaging the Monty. Couldn't do an awful lot as he slowly got zapped away by the Clash. But with the shield and the electric, no longer doing damage. It's just about slowing him down and giving over that free information, of course. More for NIP here about getting themselves set up on site, because everything they brought along here screams execute focus outside of maybe fantasy that they can use to clear around the map. But I've got to be so mindful of Herds. He was the one who did a lot of damage last time around. You cannot afford a repeat of last time here, NIP. You can course correct that, and given how the last 2 rounds have gone, that you've won the alternative sites, well, you're on for a pretty good start here on the attack of Bank. Could even find yourself up 4-2, or let alone 5-1 if we get there.
Plenty of nades in hand at the minute. They're going to need to deal with those pesky problems that the Clash might cause on blue stairs. Fleapox is still in position and will likely stay so, I would expect. But a couple of nades, it should be reasonably easily dealt with if they come in and get that hatch as well. They need to take the laser gate off the hatch, which is going to be the next order of business. As we can see, that little bit of utility just thrown onto the top, clear it off. That's going to allow them to have it. They're very concerned about Fleapox, so he's back and forward into server, back onto blue stairs. And I think they need to prioritise dealing with that Clash.
I actually love the Clash in this position. Like, we've not seen another team do it before, but I think it's so effective. Because the risk here when you're on top stairs, at the top of the stairs, you can't swing around and peek it in case someone's holding the angle. Perfectly safe to do on the Clash. You can feed information if that hatch is being opened. If it is being opened, and even if it does get open, you can still cross safely back in towards site and rejoin your team. Admittedly, I'm not feeling too good about his position here, Tim. I thought he would have joined his team back on site, and instead has, yeah, very fairly so, got himself pincered in from dirt, plus 2 players pushing into the bottom of stairs. That's the only bad part of that play. Otherwise, from Fleapox, I thought it was good, but I would have loved to have seen him return back on towards site and join his team that way, using the shield as cover to ensure he wasn't shot from the hatch.
NIP now start working to try and get that diffuser down. They've got the space that they need, but the Tachanka of nade is going to continue causing problems. We do know, however, those Shumaka canisters not easy to put into position. That light screen is not going to make it any easier for them to do that, and it might just create that little bit of space that they need to actually move through the site and plant on the bomb chassis instead and give that alternative.
I like this. Rather than trying to plant in a standard spot, they tried to tuck their way in, and that's when Fantasy strikes. Of course it is. Here he is with 2, looking for a 3, but no. It comes all down to Wizard to close things out as they get into the last 3 seconds. Furia have stood firm. Might have almost got themselves another kill there, but it wouldn't have been the end of the round. They hold up against that craziness coming out from NIP and take us up to 2 apiece.
Another close matchup, much the same as we saw at the start of Cafe, but I would say the same as I said there. If NIP come away with 3 here on their map pick, I think they win that half, to be honest, because, again, we would expect on their map pick that they're going to be solid on the defense. Furia chose the defense to start on here. They need to get 4. They need these 2 next rounds back to back. It's going to be top floor, then it's going to be open and staff. NIP, one more attack. They're in the zone. They're at the point where they want to be. Obviously, yes, you want as many rounds as you can get, but 3 will do the job for them to give them that advantage in the second half.
So that's top 4 we go again then. See how things shape up. Last time around, NIP dealt with this incredibly well. Very, very patient, very disciplined, kind of tried to force players away with fire, dropping through hatches, you name it. Didn't give anyone a chance to spray down Cons as he was getting the diffuser in place. Really, all eyes turn towards Furia here as being the ones to change things up. We can look to play him below. Seeing Malusi Banshees in there, for example, already being placed down by Nave, which suggests you might see someone playing in below. Open up that ceiling, for example, and use it to challenge on towards the windows when someone repels in to try and get the diffuser down. Could be quite an effective way to deny this that doesn't require holding upstairs as much itself.
Need to get a little bit more value out of the blitz this time. Wasn't successful at all last time. It was dealt with pretty easily. But they just need to make sure if they're going to be bringing that along that they get something done. No Capitao this time, which was obviously the tool that they used to move Herds out of this position inside of Janitor. I always focus on Janitor for this site, especially when Herds is in there, because he's got such a mastery of the position. The question is, how are they going to deal with him this time? I'm looking across there. I'm not seeing too many options apart from rush the blitz in from top square, but it's going to be difficult because you got KZ backing him up there as well from stock door. So there's a lot of utility that needs to be removed.
Absolutely. A bit of exchange coming in here, and Nade to force JB back a bit. Fancy really wanting. Oh, ho, ho, ho! Surprise! Coming in from the backside. At least gets rid of one. 8's getting a kill, instantly traded out as well. NIP starting to lose numbers here as pressure just keeps on being applied by Furia. Granted, NIP have tried something a bit different here in terms of aggression, and so far I paid the price. Wizard with a great shot onto Herds, brings it back to 3 apiece, and Cons, he still stands on this shield, Tim. They can do a lot of damage.
I'm not sure what the plan is from Herds there. He's just stood in the doorway. He's give them every opportunity to kill him from what he knows is such a vital position. So NIP can start thinking about a plant now. They need to double check Janitor though, because somebody else moved in there. KZ has taken his position, but he's very low health. One pistol shot will be enough to get the job done and to take him out of it. And you can see that's exactly what they're looking for. They bully in that position with Cons now, but he's going to take a lot of damage. That's surely going to back him off.
Now at the very least, sure. Got to make something happen though. He is the tip of the spear for them. They've got a concuss available to Wizard. Finds absolutely no one, unfortunately. With that, they've got a smoke to play behind, and that's about it. It's kill for kill yet again though. Tim Con's getting rid of one. Now he's up into a 1 versus 1. The KZ wins out. Wizard one back. It's net once again, Tim. A 1 versus 1. Lots of time to play with, but Philippox with the inferior gun has got to find the headshot. Wizard up to 1 HP. Philippox finds what he needs, and it's another close round that goes the way of Furia.
Furia just starting to find a little bit of traction over the last couple of rounds, but I remind you of the score, 3-2 Furia. NIP on the attack. If they can get this last round and move into the second half on a 3-3 on defense, I think they'll be pretty satisfied with that. Furia, like I say, holding on in the 1v1. Certainly wasn't easy for Philippox. His team really sort of hyping him up there because he has had a tough night so far against NIP. And getting that clutch closed out is going to be, I think, a big moment for Philippox's confidence.
Oh boy, oh boy. It could be the start of something beautiful for Furia. Get the 4-2 half, go on the attack. Show NIP what for on their own map pick, and that would take us to club, as we've spoken about a few times now, to see who it is that has that dance for destiny against FaZe tomorrow. Find ourselves down on this first floor again. Of course, avoiding the Teller's Archive site, as we so often see on Bank. It's not one of the most popular sites, fair to say. I think it's been played probably less than a dozen times around the world throughout the stage. The other 3, very, very popular and very, very balanced, though. Not surprised to see this is where the half is going to end on the attacking side. Leaning towards the shield again. I can't see because who's going to win, but everyone tends to be back in Furia. I'm not too surprised. As you said earlier, Tim got a pretty big fan base. Even when FaZe was slapping them, it was still about 50-50.
Okay, holding the angle here. Fantasy not maybe had the impact on the match that he might have liked so far, or at least here on Bank, I mean. 3 and 5, and I always feel like Fantasy is more of a defense player. I'd love to see his stats broken down. Just that ability to be able to run around the map, cause chaos, pop up anywhere, seems to really fit his play style a lot. And on the attack, hasn't really been able to bring quite as much of that sort of energy. 5 versus 5 still, as we are 45 seconds, coming up to 50 now into the round. And NIP just about starting to get themselves into the building. Early fight. Who's going to come away on top? KZ takes a bit of damage, as does Fantasy. You know he's not going to back away from it. He wants to continue peaking this. He knows he's got a second challenge in him as well. They need to be careful here, Furia, because Fantasy's the sort of player that'll take both of them down. But Herds manages to find Wizard. Big pickup. There's a lot of utility gone.
Yeah, and again, that sort of trend of Fury just being willing to show aggression in the early round, whether it's playing on blue stairs or getting up in the face around the map, paying dividends for them, and that 4-2 half looking more and more likely as they've now found 3. NIP just running out of steam towards the back end of this half, of Furia have really awoken. You can see them roaring their way towards a dominant first half. The one coming out as Pino falls down. This could be a flawless round to end the half, Tim. Unless it's Cons can do something magic, and at 2 and 5, I'm afraid he just ain't that guy.
No, very unlikely. You know, we've seen big clutches from him so far today, but 1v5 ace, it's not about the player, it's often about the circumstance. It's very rare that we see that happen, only once or twice in my career can I remember having seen that successfully completed, and against a team like Furia, even less likely. So Cons, he's going to peek around the corner, manages to find his first. I'm still going to say it's likely an exit frag at this point, just seeing if he can find anything up through that hatch. Going to do a little bit of damage. Furia are intent on having the fight here, but such low health. Philippox drops down, gets the kill, closes it out, and that's going to be the first half that Furia are expected as a minimum. 4-2 on the defensive bank sets them up for the second half, but with NIP on their own map choice, moving on to defense, we could well be heading for a few more of those extra rounds.
Always breaks my heart when I see a Dokkaebi die with both phone calls in back pocket, because those are the sort of things you look at and say, that was used earlier, it might not quite have gone this way, you wouldn't have been surprised so much by the defenders. That was unfortunately how things transpired. As you say, we can park that now, then look at what happens in the second half. First band's coming through, and Monty, shock horror, not at all. Maybe a little bit, to be fair, actually, against Fury, because as we've regarded, they're not really a massive shield team. Ying also going to follow. Definitely seen them play that a few times. And on the other side, that clash is going away early this time, alongside the castle.
Pretty standard, really. I don't think it'll affect NIP. It's interesting that I'm thinking, how is that going to affect NIP? And honestly, I don't think it affects them too much as something like taking the mirror away. You know, using that in Janitor is such a powerful tool. As we know, they haven't brought it for bottom floor, which absolutely fine. We quite often see the pro teams not bringing it along. They will bring it, they won't bring it. It's you know, something that we sort of see in both directions. But they've brought both the smoke and the Tachanka, which would suggest to me that Pino is going to be playing on blue stairs, because they have the alternative there of the Tachanka to play that denial role. But that said, they've got no Jaeger, no Wamai, nothing to stop that utility flying in towards blue stairs. So in that vein, I'd be kind of surprised for them to dedicate somebody to that position.
Sure. All right, lots of stall available to NIP. You want to look at? Yeah. Looking towards the C4s, the smokes, the chankers, Goyo canisters, you name it. No Twitch on the other side, interestingly. Very commonly, you'll see this get the lineup as the various gadgetry to take away, mainly looking at those Vulcan canisters, and you'll have someone bring along a Twitch and to spend the first 60 seconds of the map, or the round, sorry, going through, chewing those up, spitting them out, getting rid of any bulletproofs that you might find on the site as well. But here they'll have to do it the old-fashioned way, more looking in towards nades, or potentially, Tim, having to face check them a little bit and play that stall game later in the round. So I hope Furia don't come back to rue that decision.
Just going to be aware that somebody's inside of elevators. Exactly the same position that we saw the Tachanka playing for Furia, so I really wouldn't expect it to catch them off guard. Going to be chased down by the Blackbeard. As soon as they hear that shield, you better believe that Cons is going to drop away. So we see the opportunity. He's going to strafe out. If he comes out too far here, he might be punished, but no, they've not pushed far enough down main stairs to really support the Blackbeard. Cons does drop away, but Philippox takes a bit of unnecessary damage there, it feels, to be honest.
I think he really hoped that Herds would push with him, but of course, they haven't really got too much visibility inside of open area. Wasn't confident this one wouldn't swing him. If he had been there, it could have been a dead Chankra, and that would have been massive for them, because he's one of the two main stall operators they've got. Yeah, they've got C4s, but the Smoke and the Chankra are the natural ones that you look towards to be the ones that are focused on wasting time later into the round. So fair play on Cons. He's got some chip damage down. He's backed himself away. He's wasted a bit of time. more than you can ask for from a Chanka. I wouldn't even call it on their own, but out and about in the map trying to cause a bit of bother.
Yeah, he's done a great job there. The chip damage onto the Blackbeard, you then start thinking about, maybe a Nitro going in there and it gets a kill where it might not otherwise have done. And like you say, 8 drones left alive. Furia had no excuses not to know that they couldn't swing onto that. But they're going to get the hatches open. They're going to get the opening kill. That's going to be Fantasy taken out. JV92 onto Hates. And this one seems to be running away from NIP pretty quickly. 3 versus 5. They've got all their denial. That is at least a promising point for them. But Furia have got time. 45 seconds. Sense gadgets going up. And they can start to really pressure these remaining defenders.
Furia just go for kills here, I think. Like, don't bother trying to make a plan happen against this much stall. Just push in deep and collapse onto them in the 5 versus 3. You've got a shield that can lead the way for you. You've got a sense that can isolate some sight lines. They've got so much to work with. I swear to God, if they lose a 3rd player peeking onto that hatch, I'm going to cry. Should be in a spot now to make this happen. There's a go. Canister burns out. In a good spot is Cons. Is that the diffuser down upstairs? It may well be. Out he steps, looking to try and find some more as yet another Vulcan canister is pulled out here. Tim, they might be able to hold on by playing behind all this utility. Last 10 seconds, and Cons, as the kick of that machine gun rolls on through, they're down to a 2v2. 3 seconds to play, and they've held on, Tim. NIP up to 4 and 3.
I get the feeling that that round is going to be studied, Des.
Interesting. Very interesting.
I get the feeling that that round is going to be studied. What a play from Cons. He makes a move when NIP desperately needed a move. He got himself into server. He fought through the fire, through the flames, created himself a bit of space, got kills along the way. Big plays from him, particularly taking out the player on the hatch. Furia, they're going to be kicking themselves. You look back at that, and that for me sums up their night. That is not like Furia. How often do we see Furia lose a round from that sort of position? And I'll tell you the answer. It ain't very often. So enjoy it while it lasts, because that is out of character for Furia.
I'm certainly not going to stand here and try and tell a team of this caliber how to play the game, but I'd have loved to have seen more focus down main stairs or even into the hallway drop rather than one that goes in towards sites itself, because as we saw, when they came dropping in, when the focus was on server, there was Vulcan canisters being popped out with 10 seconds left. I said early round I was worried about their ability to clear out these crucial bits of utility. Couldn't do it, found themselves blocked off, left 1 or 2 players to be stuck against these remaining 3 players from NIP on the site itself, and there was never really any backline pressure until the dying 3 seconds of the round. It's a bit too little too late at that point, guys. Like, going for kills felt like playing the 5v3 when you know that it's a Chanka or a Smoke left alive, but ultimately paid the price there, Furia. Could have been a 5-2 and very much on the way to club. Instead, it's 4 and 3. Now we head to this top floor where NIP, of course, on this defensive side, you might start to feel going to start building in confidence as we work our way through these rounds.
Exactly that. This is a really key round here, is round 8, because if NIP get this, they've got their 2. If we break it down into quarters, they need 2 in each quarter. They need the first 2 choice sites, so basement and top floor as it is. Open area is where it's going to be decided if they win those sites. So if NIP get this and go immediately 4-4, the pressure really mounts them for round 9 and for Furia to be able to win that, quote-unquote off-site of open area and stuff. So NIP, get this one locked in, move on to the next round, and that's your bonus round. You get in there and get that win, and all of a sudden, you've just taken a huge lead, realistically, in terms of this game. As it is, no mirror has been brought along for Janitor, which is interesting. It's a fair choice. There are alternative ways to deal with that and also to defend that area. As it looks like it's going to be a stock push, there wouldn't have been that much value in the mirror anyway. With the blitz on side of Philippox, they're kind of planning to need to go into Janitor and deal with it. So I think, fair choice from NIP. Instead, bringing along things like the Warden to be able to deal with the blitz, bringing along the Tubarau to be able to freeze out the blitz, or, any of the shields that are brought. I think the lineup's pretty good from NIP.
Saw that back in the first half, making use of the Tubarau to slow down a ball. In fact, it was back on Cafe as well in the push down white towards VIP. Same thing for the Tubarau there, was doing a bit of work to slow the shield down, give him a chance to fight back. Probably more of the same sort of story coming into this round. course, the Grim, the one to watch out for too. The Grim plus Philippox here on the Blitz is the combo that I'm looking at in this round as the main sort of breadwinner for this composition. It's there to put pressure on, be able to punish people who aren't quite in the strongest positions or ones where they feel they're safe, but actually they aren't, because Philippox will be straight up in your face. KZ, the first to fall here, as Hates just rips him off the rappel. Unfortunate, not the best start for Furia.
Yeah, it really gives NIP a bit of space, because I was just going to comment how Furia had them surrounded. They had a couple of repels. They've got pressure from Stark. They had a number of angles, but as it is, it's the repel down the main lobby skylight that's going to do the damage. JV gets a big double and just continues going for Leapox. Manages to find one. It's all up to Hits. A 1v3 becomes a 1v2. He's pushing back up the spiral stairs, but they know where he is, and Herds wins out the fight with a pre-fire, and Furia take a really important round. It keeps them moving towards that 7 rounds that they need, but also it takes away a primary site from NIP, and now they start wondering that third choice site they're going to, which I imagine is what we'll see next, open area. Previously, if they win that round, it's a bonus round. You try and get yourself your advantage in the game. Now it's we need to cling on to this and keep ourselves in the game.
Absolutely, and that's exactly why attack timeout's coming on through for them to have the conversation, because this half is looking a little more ropey than maybe they anticipated. Got to find a way to keep themselves from getting completely crushed by Furia like that. It's kind of funny because I spoke about this a few times. Remember when Furia first known as W7M, when I first saw them play, the first ever game I saw them play was on Bank, and they were on the attacking side. And the remark I made at the time was like, it feels like you're playing against 10 players because they're just coming out of the walls. Everywhere you move, there's a player challenging you. There's a drone that is watching you. It was absolutely vile to play against them. So although, yes, it was NIP's map pick, I still always think back to that game and how this Furia lineup dominated the team that they were against so effectively. And I always worry about the same, and I think you're starting to see that aggression, that composure build up more and more for Furia as this series wears on. And at this point, you could find them pushing on to a win if NIP aren't too careful.
Top floor again instead of open area, and I think that just highlights what I was saying about the importance of the last round and this round. You know, NIP recognise that they need to get this one, because otherwise they've got big problems. Their only other choice in terms of site is to go to open area, which would normally be your third choice. You can go back to basement and win one round, great, but then where do you go after that point when it's 6-4 and you have to get 2 consecutive defenses? If they lose this one, they have no choice but to successfully defend an entire rotation back to back. So it is, you know, real critical problems time, and they obviously feel stronger about their ability to defend the top floor. But in all honesty, Des, they didn't show us that in the last round. Furia were pretty dominant. I mean, being able to rappel down the main lobby skylight and get 2, that shouldn't really be happening. JV92 gets away with that, and like I said, Furia did well. They had him surrounded. They were on a number of rappels. They were pressuring from Stark. They were really making NIP's life difficult, and it comes back to what you say about almost looking like they've got 10 players in the server at times. They were kind of everywhere.
Yeah, stuff like that rappel is always a crazy one, but I think when they had pressure and kills already coming in, it's probably why he felt confident to make what would otherwise be a little bit of a mental play. Either way, oh, not a great start. Herds on his backside there. I think shot at range is why he's finding himself down where he is. But let's not forget, Furia lost the entry in the last round, still went on to completely crush their way through it. So do not be counting them out just yet. Herds may even yet be recoverable too.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if they go, oh no, they have gone for it. That is a really big play. They know that they're out on the rappel. Herds will get back on his feet. I think he was down by a wizard on the warden, just taking a few pot shots out through the smoke. Long range angle being fought by Fantasy. And again, it feels like NIP are on the back foot a little bit here. I know it's Furia that have had somebody downed, that have got that low HP player, but ultimately there's shots coming in everywhere, and it's NIP that are having to back up, and it's just doubled upon from what I'm saying. Herds managing to find that kill, and NIP, they're going to be scrambling.
There's a disgusting angle through here. I remember seeing in a video last week where from top square you can get all the way through to elevators on that angle. So Herds right now really does control seemingly everything, but look at this. Here comes Cons on the step up. Do they know about it? They should have, Tim, but he's got one, almost looking for a second, not quite going to collect it, and does manage to make it back in towards sight. That's at least some of that top square pressure taken away, but now on main stairs, it's Philippox working his way forwards. So not quite as stable as NIP would like to be at this point. It is still a man advantage to Furia.
Yeah, they're just
Down
taking
2.
damage from everywhere, though. Hits taken down. Cons low health. Pino, yeah, full health, but he's going to be wanting to use his Yorkais. Cons manages to find one onto Felipox. 2 versus 3. Can NIP hold on? They've got a long time to survive here with the pressure that they're under as well. 30 seconds left to go.
They've got nothing to stop him as well. No Yokais for seemingly, no smokes. This one is done. JV on for another couple of kills in this round. They are just the kings of top floor. No tack timeout's going to save them here. It's Furia that's going to be going up to map point as well, Tim. 3 rounds for NIP to fight their way back in. Otherwise, we end on the classic that is Clubhouse.
Certainly looks like it's going to be heading in that direction. NIP really haven't looked that strong on the defensive bank. Furia have taken things to another level over the last couple of rounds and are looking back to that team whereby you just can't move, you can't breathe, they give you no space. And NIP are going to need space. They're going to need 3 rounds back to back. No more mistakes if they want to stay in this one on bank and get it done in 2. But right now, surely they have to have one eye towards Clubhouse.
Surely. But of course, don't take your eye off the ball just yet, Tim. Still going to get things closed out and done here as we go down into lockers. Bit of a muck up by Furia last time around, so probably a little bit of course correction to do. We're confident that whether it's this round, the next, or the one after that, they can get this done in regulation. If this gets dragged back to OT, I will be very surprised.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I don't think that we see extra rounds in this. I think it's more a matter of when rather than if Furia get this one. Is it going to be now down in basement? Maybe not. But I think, you know, exactly the problem that I described, really, that NIP, yes, they can maybe get the win down in basement here, but then they're going to have to either win a site that they've lost twice in top floor, or they're going to have to, well, they're going to have to win that, and they're going to have to win a site that they haven't played yet, which is likely to be open area. I mean, you know, there's, I guess, having lost top floor twice, there's a world where they go to archives and tell us as well, but I wouldn't be banking on NIP being able to win out both open area and archives and tellers. I think Pino has one eye towards getting a little bit aggressive here, or at least preventing any early aggression coming towards them from Furia.
And more of the same as well. I mean, the lineup is identical for NIP, just same focus, but different game plan from Furia. I won't talk about the Rara. In fact, oh well, still terrible win rate. Still waiting for a team to really show true effectiveness of that operator consistently. No team has really kind of got it nailed down to a T just yet. Might need a tournament or two to really play out before we see that developing. You know, when all the teams come together in the same place, start scrimming each other, figuring things out against one another. That's when you really start to see evolutions and step forward for various regions as they pick up different things they've all learned during the stage from one another. Just to wait until we get to Munich for that one to potentially build out. Tim, quite a few months away just yet. Got stage 2 to work our way through just yet. We'll see if Furia have got something cooking here to get this one done and dusted inside of regulation.
Yeah, plenty of competitive siege left to come for this year before we bring it all together at that once-a-year 6 Invitational that we all love so much in February. And have Furia getting exactly. And have Furia getting ourselves into the building pretty quickly here. We've got 4 of them established. Make that 5 as Herds is in now as well. Having worked his way in through the garageway, I think. No, he's not managed the challenge there. He's actually going down main stairs instead. But good control early on from Fury. They're able to start working with the hatches straight away. KZ picks up cons. That's the opener. Things are looking a little bit dire for NIP. Furia have taken it up a gear, and it looks like NIP, the brakes have been applied, whether it's through their choice or not.
Yeah. Again, that pressure's going to keep on mounting at this point, and as long as they don't do anything too crazy or mental, this one could be a much different story to the last time around. Still, of course, got things like those Vulcan canisters to deal with. Of course, one being popped out now, as you've heard, so I think getting through those first and foremost is number 1. Everything else, and it's probably going to fall in behind the Rara, trying to lock the defenders out, but also dealing with things like the light screens. It will restrict the options that the defenders have to be able to contest onto this plank going down with that Rara on side. Keep an eye on when that locks things off. I expect it to be on towards site door, maybe even towards orange door at the same time. Could do a lot for them, and of course the Sens will do the rest for them.
Just going to try to create a bit of space there for Herds to walk in, but he does get cut down. Hits with an important double to keep things level. 3v3. Wizard aware that he's being pushed inside a garage. You feel that NIP can maybe hold on here. The light screen is going to provide a little bit of cover for this player to move in, and it's the double up. KZ comes around the backside and finds Wizard. 14 seconds left to go. Create space with the Raura, and it's gone their way. Furia close it out and take away NIP's map. I think firmly in the camp that Furia are going to win this. I think the way they've just played those last few rounds, I've said this a few times now, Furia have woken up, Furia are coming, and then they seem to have another dip again. But I just think coming into Clubhouse, I think Furia on the defense as well will keep that momentum. I think they'll start really strong. They'll probably lock down at least 2 out of the 3 sites, and yeah, it's going to be a real tough one for NIP to crack into, I think.
Possibly will our bans have flown on through. Tim, double hard breach, double, let's say soft breach then, definitely not soft breach. Double electrification on the other side, so looking to keep these wall openings quite nice and fluid. While the other side tries to stop them opening walls altogether. You're left up with the Ace and with Mavericks. The walls most definitely will be opened up, but it does mean there is free reign for operators like Clash, like the Azami, like the Mira to be able to roll on through, but also a hell of a lot of freedom for the attackers as well. Expect to see things like Monty flying throughout the game, I'm sure, but in this first round, no shields on side. Instead, looking in towards things like the Ying, the Capital. They're looking for a lot of control and a lot of punishment here on towards Furia as they defend Gym and Bedroom in round 1.
My big concern right off the rip here is going to be NIP's, and you've mentioned it there, ability to open those walls. We saw this with Nioids. I kind of apologise to Falcons for doing it, but I come back to Falcons at Reload. We saw on Clubhouse, we saw the triple hard breach ban. Ace went as well. And for the last 3 rounds of having to play like that, they struggled to get things done using just the Maverick. And it's not just our Falcons, but my point there is such a great team, such a capable team, and how much it hamstrung them to have those 3 operators taken away on Clubhouse. And that's what NIP are going to face. It's going to be really, really tough for them. Pino, super important on the Ace. They've got to be very careful with him. They've got some hard breach gadgets with cons as well, but that won't be sufficient for each him.
Completely agree. Of course, we'll see how they fare when we get there. For now, they can enjoy 3 rounds of Ace until it's no longer available. At least we get to enjoy every round of Ace here. Tim with you on side. Wizard starting things out. Hurts to fall down. A C4 up and over. Going to find a second 2. All coming back over the other way. Certainly not bad. A 1-for-1 exchange to start things out. But it feels like a little bit of a loss of Furia losing the Azami super early on, to be honest, Tim.
Yeah, a couple of keeper barricades, of course, will go along with. I think it's at the top of my head, probably about 3 that they're going to lose out on. So certainly not ideal. But, and again, maybe gives them a little bit of freedom. Let's not forget they are on the Gym and Bedroom side. So there is a world where Furia have a little bit of a look underneath. Maybe work away, try and get up red, not having those air jabs to deal with. Could give them something to work with, definitely. Twitchstrom is good. That's big. Twitchstrom goes in and clears out one of those mirror windows. Will then lose its life, but they've got plenty of value out of that one. Breaching is going on as well from Cash. Heard that Selma charge detonating. That's going to provide the line of sight through all the way to Bedroom and even beyond if there's some little beat holes or a rotate on that wall near the windows.
I can't even stress how important it is getting rid of the FNAT as well, Tim. Now in a spot where if someone comes rounding in from construction side, they don't have that intel, that heads up for someone who's doing just that. So it may mean that Nade has to plant his feet basically inside a lodger here and not step away to support the site itself, for example, when a hit starts to come on through. You can see how every single player on Furia has actually really dug back past this line. Look, no one is playing inside the site itself, and without a mirror on side, it's so precarious to try and do just that. They've got to be really careful here. NIP with a lot of ability and a lot of influence here to get things done.
NIP need to be winning the rounds on the attack in the first few because, of course, after round 3, I'm certain we're going to see Ace banned away as well, and they're going to be limited to Maverick. So get those rounds now on the attack. They want at least 2, 3 if possible, and that is a great start for them. Fantasy managing to pick up the final kill there, and they just bullied Furia inside a site. It was a great kill, like you said, to open things up. Really gave them a bit of space, and they managed to close it out. Like I say, first 3 rounds are going to be really, really important unless they're super comfortable on Maverick and they're going to be happy getting those breaches open quickly. And then who knows, Furia's strategy of banning might backfire and it might be wasted.
Attackers need to locate and defuse.
It was again just how they had them all pincered in towards this sort of lodgy side and main stairs. They couldn't really play inside of any sites because Jacuzzi was opened up. When you saw the step back in towards bedroom, what happened? Sideswiped from the player on Jacuzzi. Then you've got also the key thing really for me was Fancy more towards the end of the round, actually working his way up main stairs, stabbed them in the back there, just when they thought, okay, they're attacking from windows, we're attacking from breach, we're quite safe here. I can assure you, you absolutely aren't. So a really good read from NIP in round one. And Furia looking a little bit worse for wear towards the back end of things there. We go down to the basement though, a much easier place to get yourself locked in, Tim, and stage off what you might consider an air quotes proper defense. See how Furia hold up.
I think we've spoken about momentum coming on in for Furia as well, and I think we can't sort of overstate the importance of NIP getting that first round. Coming in on the attack, not always the easiest map to attack. You know, we see that site locked down a lot of the time, and NIP have broken that momentum that Furia had. I thought they were going to come in and kind of run away with it a little bit here, Furia, but no. NIP, again, proving that quality that they've shown us throughout the stage, and particularly at the end in the playoffs, to get that first round done. Now, push on, get yourself some more.
I guarantee that's what we're looking to do, Tim. We'll get themselves focused on making sure the map is cleared, number one, and then second, that they get the verticals done that they need to inside of kitchen hallway. They're looking in towards main stairs, the players can't push up onto you, making sure that back arsenal is clear, so there's no one sat there giving you absolute grief. Try and work your way down main stairs, but of course, Furia, as you're seeing here, are going to be the ones more than happy to try and contest and stop them having control of kitchen hallway for free. I forget the player that we were casting a couple of weeks ago who was in that exact spot and got like 3 kills from there, twice in the same game. We were a little bit like, how can you let this happen? Like, what is going on? It was crazy. Remember who it was?
I can't remember. Just as you were saying it, I was trying to... We've cast a lot over the last, like, 10 days or so. We've done quite a few of the playoff games in EML and now SAL, and no, I don't recall who it was that was in that one. But
scary play,
let's see if there's any scary players coming out of Furia. They're going to need some because they're up against a Ying, Capitao, Blitz. It's not an enviable lineup to be facing. We hear the first Candela going in there. Smoke canister is going to come out just to try and offer a little bit of protection, a little bit of space for Furia and prevent that pressure mounting too much. They're trying to deal with nade at the minute, and Fire Arrow's going to do a decent job of it. That's a good chunk of health gone. The Clash is going to have to be careful. A lot of utility expended though. Blitz taking all the punishment, but Hates is there for one of his own. Furia, however, managed to keep themselves in the lead, in the driving seat. 4 versus 3, 54 seconds, and it feels like that attack has just lost all its oomph.
Oof. Speaking of oomph, I'm just like, ugh, more of a groan than anything, Tim, facing off against that Clash. Slowed them down the first drop, so a C4 hit is now feeding all this information over to his team. As they were inside of blue, there was very little that Furia could do. Maximum impact in this round from that shield-bearing operator. Now Wizard and Pino have really got to work something special here. Not quite going to happen as Hers gets one, Pino into another. 2 still to find, and one of them being a Clash. Yeah, I don't really fancy his chances here, Tim.
No. Casey is going to pop out of dirt and get that one finished. That takes down Pino, and that gets Furia on the board. 1-1. It was mentioned by the desk that both times, or all the times, these two teams have played Clubhouse through the regular stage, it has gone to overtime. Whether that's a little bit of an omen or not, we will see. I think, like I said, notwithstanding how they're going to manage without, so how the Maverick play is going to be, particularly for NIP. I think every round in this first 3 that Furia win, it feels like it has more value than it does for NIP. Sorry, no, opposite way around. NIP, their rounds... Well, yeah, I suppose by virtue, I'm confusing myself. By virtue, Furia's rounds are really valuable that they win because these are the ones that NIP want to win, whilst they still have Ace available. 100% pick rate for Ace, by the way, in the first 3 rounds. No surprise whatsoever because they don't want to have to rely on the alternative hard breaching methods, whether that be secondary gadgets, whether that be Maverick. So every round that Furia win here and can take away from NIP when they do have those breaches, assuming that they do go with the Ace ban as the third choice, is really valuable for them. So yeah, big loss there for NIP in round 2, and they kind of threw everything at blue to see what stuck, and well, not very much stuck. From the Clash's shield must be made of Teflon or something because they were able to just back up and hold them off.
All too easy. Well, let's see how things roll on from here. See if things transform any further. Once again, got that Rara being brought along, and it's of course not really gonna be applicable here. We saw it a bit on the last map, using the Thermite in combination with the Rara. It's less about the execute and far more about making use of those Rara doors to get things opened up. So maybe you could even use it in some cases for things like a breaching charge if you wanted to use it when trying to open up downstairs. Not really too relevant, of course, we're not on this side attacking onto the downstairs, but various uses where actually it stages an explosion that can help you get other things done, such as opening up electrified hatches, various things that you can probably imagine. As said, not really too applicable here because there is no Thermite available. So more towards the execute here is going to be the game plan for Fantasy. It's about locking off those doorways and making life hard for the defenders. It does require him staying alive until we get to that point, though.
It's going to be working around that elbow on the catwalk for the time being, in behind those keeper barricades. Pino, low health, but job done. At least for now. You can see there the Raura just going to get that door applied. They need to wait the few seconds for it to be active, and then they can start to get that rolling up. It is, of course, slower for the defenders than it is for the attackers to raise. Something they need to be aware of. They do have some impact nades, so JV92 is out in warehouse if he gets maybe to window, but he's got some problems of his own right now.
Yes, dealing with the pressure coming in, the fire coming over is not going to burn him out, but the problem is the guns start following. Can't quite find his man though, and so on. For now, at least, holds tight. One more trying to pressure him. Can't get the second as he does eventually die to the breach itself. Pino was there ready and waiting, and Nade not quite able to give him the cover he needed. Otherwise, his back is exposed to those players trying to work their way up main stairs. So has to let his teammate die a bit here. 4 versus 4.
This is what's going to get much harder for NIP. They're able to open that hole, as you can see, because of the ace, because of the Selma charges. If that's banned out after this round, and it's going to be a big problem next time they come to attack this site. They're going to have an alternative because there's going to be no ranged options. 4 versus 4 as it stands, but Cons and Pino low health. Cons even lower health. Fantasy as well. Herds and KZ managing to find those kills. Looks like Furia will hold on to round 3. 4 versus 2. They're trying to get something going from below, just sending the utility up there. Wizard manages to get 1 kill onto top red stairs, but look at the damage he takes along the way. You've got a Clash to face up against as well. Really tough finish here for NIP.
Gee, I wonder what the defender ban is going to be in this next round, Tim. Can only be the Clash. It has been infuriating for them to deal with. Nothing they can do here. Still got 1 on the downstairs. This round is done. Wizard might get 1 back, but you aren't stopping a Clash. Philippox is there, ready for the close. Let us see that Clash ban, and let us see the ace ban.
Yeah, I think we know exactly where those are going. Philippox doing a great job there, just, you know, recognizing when it was time to play underneath in lounge, use that shotgun, back up red for the final kill. The Clash could have dealt with that situation, of course, at the end there, but still, nice play from Philippox. So, bans will come in. Furia 2-1 up at this point. It's going to be the ace, and it's going to be the mirror. So the Clash will still be left available. Mirror, again, hasn't been used so far, but is it, again, one of, you know, like I spoke earlier, sometimes teams will avoid an operator for the first 3 rounds so that they don't get banned out and then play them 4 through 6. I don't know that was necessarily going to be the case here. They've been pretty comfortable. They played it in round 1, gym and bedroom, so it, you know, maybe gives NIP an edge there, but they are now locked into secondary hard breach and or Maverick. And it doesn't look like they're bringing the Maverick at the minute. And I really don't like that for this site, because what it's probably going to do, they can put a secondary hard breach charge on it, but with the Azami still available, that can be covered off quite easily. And Furia can still play elbow and top main stairs, and that is a super powerful position.
Along a few hard breach charges here, you know, it's waiting got something like the striker on side as well, of course, to help you deal with that. So I actually like what they're going for. I think that's a good idea. Of course, how it pays off is a different question. You have to make it very successful. 2 sets coming along, the Grim and Fantasy, of course, and that striker as mentioned. Once again, leaning in towards this Raura, really trying to rock it throughout this series. I'm just more alarmed again by the Clash on the other side. Like, as you remarked, you know, era we saw earlier on, it was dealt with very, very handedly by the shot thrown at the Twitch. I'm just a little bit like, was this really the ban you wanted to go? Is this really the hill you wanted to die on? Sure, it's not a Clash that you want to take away. But clearly they feel they've got the answer. I'm just not convinced they do.
No, I'm just looking across at how they deal with the clash. You know, they've got a couple of nades. They've got sort of 3 nades left. That's about their only options, really. The Grim isn't going to help you massively against the clash because, great, you've pinged them out. Guess what? They're still behind a shield, but it's not that big a deal. So, yeah, definitely need to see what the plan is to deal with the clash. And right now, Furia sitting pretty comfortably in and around site. This is the other problem with those hard breach gadgets. You know, yes, they do a job, but it's always a vault animation. You're always going to have to, you know, try and sort of muscle your way through if you're wanting to get something that's going to give you anything more than a line of sight.
Oh, and of course, not forgetting, this is an extended hold here that they're facing off against NIP. Can choose to ignore it and go direct towards site, but you always put yourself at risk then because you can't use the south windows in your attack. Otherwise, defenders just use the west window inside a cash CC to contest on towards you, and things don't start to look pretty. Casey rounds out and gets rid of Conso. Going to type that one back up again, but 4 kills. Blown through for Furia, Tim. Might get 1, but it is most definitely a consolation kill as the clash gives away all the info they need. Furia take themselves another round.
As I suggested, it feels like things just got considerably harder for NIP. We saw the double use of the secondary hard breach gadget on construction wall. Didn't really do them any favours because, as I said, they're quite small breaches. So, yep, you'll just play the keeper barricades onto them. And even if you can clear them, yep, you've got the DMR, but you're engaging with that utility and you're not focusing on the fight that's going to come. And so, tactical timeout called by NIP. They need to work out a plan. They need to work out what they're going to do with this hard breach because they're now going to be going onto the basement. So it has to be a Maverick so that they can get the hatches. The hard breach gadget, if anything, the hard breach gadgets will be the most useful they're going to be getting onto the hatches. It's going to be round 6 when they go CCTV and cash that they start having real problems. But yeah, serious issues for NIP at the minute.
Sure, and hopefully issues that can be fixed by this tac timeout, but no guarantees. As we've seen earlier in the series, sometimes tac timeouts just have 0 impact on the rest of the half. They need something on the board because if Furia are walking away with this 5-1 up, which is feeling very, very possible given how they've played things out so far and how much effect that clash is having, a little bit alarmed that all it'll take is a couple of good attacks from them, which they are more than capable of. But NIP, despite all the hard work and the quality of play that we've seen from them today, it'll mean very little. They could have finished in 5th and it wouldn't have mattered, and they'll still get the same number of SI points as what they will do losing at this stage.
Yeah, it is all about first or second now. It is all about that position in the grand final. Puts a lot of weight on this game and a lot of reward for the winner to guarantee themselves at least 100 extra SI points. Could be an extra 250 to take them up to a total of 300. But down to the basement we go. I'm interested to see whether Furia play much on the roam or not. They've got the castle barricades going out, so I would expect that they will. But given, you know, the fact that they've taken away so much hard breach, you kind of feel like, are they just going to dig in and wait to see what happens? There's 6 of those secondary hard breach gadgets. Fortunately, they are spread across very useful operators. Capitao, you got Striker, you got Ying, Grim is another option as well. And so you're not really losing too much by having to bring that number along. All
right, let's see if that tac timeout does anything magical for NIP here, or if Furia just carry on like nothing ever changed. Now at least Hurts is the one playing the dance of death on towards this extension. Reminder that really we are on the downstairs, so this is a bit of an uncharacteristic extension. Playing top red, not normally the thing that you see done when defending on the downstairs. At most, you're trying to contest yourself maybe upstairs to deal with a couple of drones and then falling away. But look at the aggression he's showing here. Gets himself Pino as well. This cannot be happening, guys. There's 2 or 3 of you around. There's drones at his feet, yet he's still got away with absolutely everything. Making use of the trap as well to force them back even further. This ain't looking pretty.
He's going to get himself another if he just swings and shoots here, but no. JV92, Philippe taken. How did they not know that? They were flashing him out. They weren't aware that he was still there. Hurts manages to get himself a second 2 versus 3, but the problem is KZ is up on the top floor and he's a little bit stuck at the minute. It leaves Nade all alone in sight. If NIP are able to recognize that quickly, they could well get themselves the pressure mounting and start to move quickly. They don't need to recognize it. With that kill, they know now that it's 1 versus 3. Now, I've got to be honest, it's unlikely that Nade holds on.
Oh boy. I know we spoke a lot about this clash, but it is a lot to ask with 75 seconds still to play that he can get this one done. Not anticipating it, but crazier things have happened already today, Tim. Can't fully count him out, but hopefully NIP have got that composure as a team to get this one done.
I think that it will be. I'd be very surprised. You know, not to say he's not capable, but I'd be very surprised to see Nade hold on to this. Let's not forget, he's only got 21 bullets in the mag. It's not a primary weapon, and he's going to be challenged in numbers. Manages to get one. Surely they don't feed him one by one. Here he goes to the second. 1v3 becomes a 1v1. There's 35 seconds left for this 1v1 to play out. Hits is the only one left. He sees his man. He takes his shot, but he can't land it.
Andelas as well. Is it coming down main, or is it going in towards sight? It's going in towards sight. If he swings now, he probably gets his man. No! So close. But it's Hates that gets the shot he needs to see us over the finish line. NIP giving a bit of a gift there after almost giving one themselves.
I know it doesn't necessarily matter which way around they do this, so it's not really a criticism, but I just wonder about the site choice there. Furia choosing to go down to Church and Arsenal when, because of the bans, I would suggest that CCTV and Cash is actually probably the stronger side. You know, because like I sort of said going in there, the hard breach gadgets will open the hatches as well as a Maverick, as well as a Hibana, you know, as well as anything else, really. They'll get the job done. The real benefit of forcing them to use those hard breach gadgets is when you're getting them onto walls they might want to go through, or lines of sight that they might want to use, because they're very small breaches and it just limits them a lot more. And I feel like that's so much more relevant here in CCTV and Cash. If you remember last time when they played the Azami out on Catwalk, they died because the Selma had been thrown onto that wall between CCTV and Catwalk and opened up the line of sight. Not physically possible anymore. So it definitely feels like this is probably the stronger side given those bans. So Furia going to Church and Arsenal first, maybe, you know, giving NIP a little bit. It could have already been 4-1 and you kind of, you know, putting the pressure on a little bit more. But either way, NIP with a good win. They get the job done. 2-3, they stand on the scoreboard. And if they can come away with a 3-3 onto the defense, they're going to be absolutely laughing.
Going to feel pretty spectacular if they get it that way, Tim, but it's still back Fury to probably hold on here and get us up to the 4-2. How things shape up? Nothing else, a bit of a change away. A big stack in towards anti-nade utility is worth stressing here. That reminder, in case you've been sleeping under a rock for a while, ADSs can now catch out those Capital bolts. So things like what Jaeger and My stat together actually become incredibly potent. You can force, you know, drag 7 bits of utility if you wanted to in towards a given area, which means Catwalk can be a very, very hard part to break down. We're going to see probably on the other side, given they've got limited thrown utility, the ability for Furia to hold on to Catwalk.
Brace for it!
Yeah, it seems to be interesting choice from Pino there, from absolutely miles away, sending that utility in towards sight. Drones are still being taken out, so there is a breach on the main wall. We've seen that, but as I've said, it is only a small breach. It does mean that it will be difficult to play inside a CCTV, but it also makes it difficult to traverse and to do anything at any sort of range. You're going to have to be, you can't be on rappel, for example, because the angle would be too low. You wouldn't be able to see in through that breach. So definitely something that NIP needs to consider.
Probably also the first round where they haven't had to worry about considering a clash is the nice thing. Of course, different things, different challenges to face off against. Like I mentioned, the utility stack, if nothing else, certainly one thing. T4 comes over and Cons is gone. 0-6, Tim. Where's the Cons that we've seen absolutely having a demolition derby all night long? Here in the Capital, all those bolts gone, and the man himself offline. Not the best start for NIP.
Big problem, there's no breaching left. I keep speaking about breaching, but the construction wall is closed, so they're not going to be able to breach that. They're going to have to go in through this single door, and Furia, there will come a point where they will recognise that, and they're dealing with utility as they try to get in there. Fantasy manages to find JV92, but Furia, they really should be able to hold on here. Look at what they're working with. It's difficult for NIP. They can't move in through anywhere. KZ gets a double for Leapox, Nade one apiece, and Furia do hold on comfortably to CCTV and Cash. So not a bad round from them. 4-2, decent half, but they're going to have some work cut out for them on the attack, I'm sure. I'm interested to see what NIP do with the bans. Surely they've felt the frustration of no hard breach to play behind on Clubhouse. Do they do the same in return?
Guess we'll see. Here with the same frustrations the other side, change things away. Now, I don't really speak enough Portuguese to be able to tell you exactly what was said there, but I know they're on about drones and C4s.
And lol.
Yes. And that's about all I need to know. C4, drone, lol, 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 lol. Yeah, that was totally fine by me. This is going to be that hard breach of the thermite. Do we see the same thing brought onto the other side? Looks like we will, with one going through, a second hard breach to follow. It's going to be the Ace here, leaving the Habana and the Maverick. Nice.
Interesting choice, going with the Ace ahead of the Habana. And I don't mean that in a negative. It's a general sort of interest in that point, because you can see it both ways. So the Selma charges are quicker, and you can get them, as we saw, get them onto the wall between CCTV and Catwalk, for example, and I think they're probably more likely to get that line of sight that you want than the Habana in that kind of range. But that said, Ace can only open 1.5 hatches, whereas Habana can open the whole lot. So it really depends which way you're focusing towards. So it is a fascinating one. And IP also have the denial available to them, and I think they've maybe read into that with, I don't know, because Kaid was the first ban, Mirror comes in as the second, but again they're not bringing the bandit this time. But with only Habana available, that bandit trick becomes so easy. I mean, you're considering the Maverick as well, but it hasn't been brought along, and you just feel like take that little bit of a gamble on the defense. Bandit's a great operator anyway, great utility, great gun. You've got a real opportunity to prevent them breaching anything.
I think some teams probably feel like it's also a way to get yourself baited in. Like we saw it in actually an EML joystick playing a lot of Sophia, and just absolutely slapping out anyone who dared to try and bandit trick a wall. It was beautiful to see. A little bit harder, admittedly, on this site, during bedroom in particular, but you can still look to play on those windows and try and challenge. Unless the windows challenge you. Cons wanting to put to rights the wrongs that he incurred during that first half. He was 0 and 6. This half already finished straight away in the first round of their defense. He's got himself on the board.
Yeah, great start there from NIP. Just taking down the Twitch as well. You can see now Hurge just taking a little bit of damage. He's got himself established inside a CCTV, looking to put pressure onto this extended hold. But are they aware of Fantasy looking to get aggressive and move up from red? They don't have a clue. Fantasy steps around the corner, manages to get Hurds. Nades is there for the trade, but it's a little bit too little too late. The damage is done. They've lost their sledge as well now. And NIP can retire back to site, 4 versus 3, and looking pretty comfortable.
They hold on for now at the very least. Yeah, I thought Furia might battle their way back in here and keep it competitive. And admittedly, it still is, but they've lost for Leapox. Again, one of the key players they really need to keep up in this round because he's running around on that Capital. Again, this big focus is all coming in towards this east side of the map. Still dug in. I was going to say, I'm sure they have no idea, but they surely did because KZ was in there ready to go. They at least get a trade guaranteed, but Nade has got it all to do against Hates and Wizard. Wizard, a single bullet from death, but Hates looking a little more healthy.
Yeah, not looking pretty at the minute at all for Furia. They will have wanted nothing more than to come and get this first attack done. It's like I said, exactly the same way works now for Furia. These first 3 rounds that they have, 7, 8 and 9, are particularly valuable because they do have some hard breach left available to them. They can use the Habana. So get in and get these rounds now before that utility is taken away from you. And they've lost their first opportunity, it looks like, to get one of those rounds. 35 seconds, so plenty of time for Nade. If he can find this first kill, then maybe he can get something going. But no! Steps around the corner, Wizard cuts him down with the shotgun, and NIP get themselves back within 1.
Oh boy, oh boy. You asked to a game of Siege, Tim. We say it all the time, but it started to come to be. I'd say it was like a super convincing round. To a degree, it was quite convincing. Again, a lot of the battle took place out on the extension, and as you remark, Fantasy was in such a ridiculous position to be able to get the kill that he did. Yes, there was someone stood outside and breached, ready to get him when he tried to go for a little bit more. But the fact that he was able to get the first kill in the first place goes to show, even when we were that far away from the site itself, it was still hard for Furia to be able to compose themselves and get rid of these roamers in the fashion that we've seen them do so many times over on the global stage. Now we go down to the basement, and Wizard is doing his best cosplay of Furia here, bringing along that clash and looking to be an absolute nuisance.
Okay then, let's get it underway. Round 8. And this is the round Furia need to win. It's Church and Arsenal. They've got the Hibana. They can bring along some secondary hard breach as well. No excuses not to be getting all those hatches. JV92 needs to make sure that that part of his job is done, because it's not going to get any easier the next time that they attack onto Church and Arsenal. It's going to be Maverick instead, most likely, or a combination of hard breach charges. And so, get it done now whilst you've got the opportunity. We've got the knock being brought along by Herds. Always keen to watch a knock and kind of see what they can do, but power of the... I was going to say the Twitch has just driven right past the bulletproof cam, but no, it's going to take it out. The power of the knock really has dropped off, I think, since the nade changes. We used to see, obviously, a lot of knock played, but really not as common, not as popular anymore.
No, definitely not. More niche when you're looking to try and do something very, very specific, even with the changes that I think admittedly make it very, very effective, but it is what it is. Maybe even more here for the EMPs more than anything else, kind of giving Hers the choice. As long as he brings EMPs, then no one really cares what he's playing. So we thought, right, time to go and have some fun then. Focus, of course, is getting the wall open, and this is where Hers needs to kind of come into his own and make sure things are EMP'd off to get their way through. For now, the Jam are going to be doing all the work required to slow down the push on forward from Furia. You know, still dug in deep, just wasting as much time as possible, because again, that reminder, this ain't the site we're playing, nor is it human bedroom. It's down in the basement, but a lot of time is being sucked up by just having to force them to go and clear this top floor.
You've got players in lounge. Bring the bandit. You could easily trick this wall. I know that it's not the site, but you could just burn so much time for Furia, but NIP not wanting to commit to it. Fantasy having a look. No idea that there's somebody inside a stock, like two ships passing in the night. They will miss each other. Nid does not miss though. Headshot onto Hits. Takes down the Legion. Bit of a loss in terms of goo mines there. 5 versus 4 as Furia start to take over the map. Surely the knock knows now. Yes, he does. Knock, knock. It's Herds. Takes down Fantasy. 5 versus 3.
Plus the EMPs too, so I'm a little bit like...
Yep.
Are we just not worried about the wall? We'll leave it closed. It was all a bait all along. Maybe so. It's enough that Furia have got the advantage, though. A 5v3 is plenty to work with. Step into the final 60 seconds. Got to be careful not to get stalled up by any Vulcan canisters. Hopefully, Casey's been doing his homework in this round, getting rid of those canisters. And, of course, the C4 to respect to the back pocket of the mute. Still a few things that could upset the apple cart here, and almost saw the booty of Herds. He's gone for a run around here. Here we go. Stepping himself out in towards the corridor. Instead, it's going to force Cons to drop his way through. And he's back on site.
Yep, good progress from Furia. They've got only 30 seconds, though. That's the big problem for them at the minute is time. Herds is just going to go on a little walkabout down those main stairs, see if he can get any joy with any rotations. Anybody moving through long, doesn't find anybody for now, but Nade wanders in from dirt, gets himself 2, breaks the back of the defense. That's going to be the round 1, almost certainly. Cons, not for the first time tonight, in a 1 versus 5, can do nothing about it. Flawless round for Furia, and it's 5-3, and it feels like this one is slowly slipping away from NIP.
I'll wait and reserve judgment till after this third round now. We've seen both teams have pretty good rounds. You know, one from NIP, one from Furia in this half. Yes, it's that 2-round deficit to cover, but you might see NIP go on a tear now and win the next 2 or 3, especially when they get to go back to their first choice site in the next round. But now it's Cash CC. And really interestingly, or more ironically, I guess, is this is where they spent most of their time playing, even though it hasn't been the site that we've gone to once. The gym and bedroom and then down to the basement, yet both times they've had someone sat at the top of red stairs, they've had reinforcements onto the main breach. They really like defending this part of the map. Now it's where the site is, becomes a little bit of a different affair. You have to commit more utility towards it. You know, there's more pressure coming in from attackers. Construction is going to be a big part of that pressure. Or they just focus very, very heavily on towards garage, and they use that and the main breach as their main point of ingress. No shield coming out for Furia, mind you, though. So normally you see like a Monty or something like that being rolled out for this site, but instead, I'm going to swerve that entirely. I say it now, and Nade goes across into the Blackbeard at the last second. They do have a shield, and I imagine the focus from that is going to be more in towards trying to deal with this player up in Rafters.
Yep, I'd have expected so. JV choosing to bring the Maverick instead of the Hibana as well. I think it's a good choice. Just send a little bit of a message to NIP, if nothing else. Get in there. We need to see JV, and we'll keep an eye on him. We need to see him do a really clean job of opening that wall. I often speak about it. If you're going to be in a position to play the Maverick, make sure that you've put the rich time in, you've made the practice work for you, and you are able to quickly and efficiently remove those reinforcements, not make a mess of it. it can be the difference between rounds won and rounds lost. So JV will get to work on that wall pretty soon. But the big battle, I think you're right, Des, is going to be the one for Catwalk.
Oh!
What a
I was hoping
loss.
to find someone on platform, but KZ literally stood in the middle of the open, the last place you'd expect him to be, and picks up a freebie. A great read to the aggression. Cons now 1-9 him. Really not his map.
Right, JV, come on, prove me right. Show me how good you are on the Maverick. He's just being a little bit cautious, I think.
Oh god, they're all ready and waiting.
God, I don't like the look of this, Des.
No. He is the sacrificial lamb who's going to get C4'd off if he's not careful.
I don't know. I mean, we're a minute and a half through the round, and we're kind of playing about. Just get in there and get it done. Like, you know, the thing is, the lines are very clean. The actual technique is very clean. It's just taking so long to do it, and I appreciate that they want to keep him safe, but you know, there are ways of doing this to guarantee that safety. A little bit of pressure from below would be helpful. You know, anything to keep those players busy so they can't focus on there. Going to have to move down as they do. Beautiful play from Nade. Fantasy does take down Herds. 4 versus 3. Please tell me that breach is open.
Be down well helping, so Tim, but at this point they've got a couple of kills, and that was the main thing that they were looking for. This Blackbeard applying a lot of pressure for Leapox from the construction window into one more. A 4v2. Forget about your damn breach now. It's about getting the kills. Pino getting one back though, and surely, Tim, they don't let this all collapse back on them.
This is where they might rue not taking over Catwalk, though. We see the Maverick of JV92 has rotated over to the CCTV window. Pressure is coming. I think it's from top red stairs rather than the breach. The breach is kind of open, kind of messy, but it's doing its job at least. The line of sight is there. And Wizard is just battling to try and get something going for NIP. Cut down by KC. Important kill. Manages to get the second, and Furia, they go forward onto map point, getting 2 of those rounds while they still had some normal hard breach with Habana available has been really valuable. They used Maverick in the last round there, so again it sends a bit of a message. We'll do it one way or another, and NIP have got some thinking to do.
They have 3 rounds to recover. Tall ask. Furia thought, as we said, they might do off the back of that first half, might just find themselves careering on for a couple of round wins and putting NIP under real pressure. Last band's coming out. It's going to be another hard breach, I expect. The Maverick, interestingly, to follow. So actually forcing out the Habana. And I'm glad that a clash has finally been banned in this game, Tim.
So I was thinking about this whilst that ban was coming through, and I thought to myself, I'd be tempted to take the Maverick out here, take the risk that they leave the Bandit up, and then just do this. Tubarão and Bandit. And you're going to make it for either hard breach charges, secondary hard breach charges, or Habana. You're going to deal with it so easily. You should be tricking this really, really easily. So long as they're kind of right place, right time, they choose the right wall that they're going to be going for, I would expect to see this be very difficult for Furia to open anything other than hatches now, to be honest. And even then, hatches are going to be slowed down if you consistently bring the Tubarão. So I actually really like this play from NIP. I know the obvious option was take Hibana and leave them the Maverick, especially with a little bit of a mess of a wall that they made of it last time. You kind of think, well, you know, if they're busy making mistakes, don't interrupt them. But yeah, I think I can see the theory. I can see the theory. I'm not sure it's going to get them 3 rounds, but I like the idea.
That's why I'm glad they've also brought along the castle here as well, because I mentioned this earlier on. It's like if you're bandit tricking on towards Cash CC wall, you've got a Zofia underneath or someone trying to give you grief. It's not going to be a good time. This wall over here on towards Jacuzzi, bit of a different conversation because you've got the concrete floor. But so often we see nades being rolling through the drone hole, or we see someone running their way up main stairs, or pressure coming from that gym window. But at least the gym window angle has been closed off by those 2 castle barricades. Now it's just about watching out for the rest. So it could be a real smart play here out of NIP, but I'm sure Furia have got a solution in mind.
Yeah, you would hope so. Already on the upside down rappel of main stairs. They're waiting for any interaction with that hatch, and Hits will send the Nitro out. Gonna keep it in pocket for the time being, but just hovering around here, looking to support Cons. Like I say, it's all about making your choice. Which wall do you want to hold on to? They're not gonna mind the CCTV wall. We're a minute in. They're just holding an extension for the time being. What they want is to keep that site locked down, and Jacuzzi wall is the one to do it from. Keep a hold of elbow, keep a hold of main stairs, and battle from there.
We've seen so much focus on this extension, right? I mentioned it earlier back in the first half that Furia spent most of their round probably hanging around the top of red, regardless of what site we were on. They absolutely love playing there. A little bit easy for Furia to move on through. NIP not quite subscribing to the same mantra of red stairs or nothing. Kept themselves backed away for the most part, which gives all the room towards Furia to start their march on forward, focusing towards construction. It's one being blown out now. Now maybe look towards JB to make use of two of those Excarios to get the next layer of castle barricade removed, but then there may well be someone inside a bedroom who's able to shoot that off. So the game of cat and mouse continues between the two. Herds steps in, and Wizard is gone. There's a good trade coming out. Hate's ready, hearing the sound of the barbed wire to make that step forward and the response coming in and towards the IQ. Damage done in the mute being gone because that's no C4 on side.
I'm almost certain that Wizard was spotted out on a drone. I think I saw a yellow ping as he was moving across. That's how Herds was there ready for the attack, but it's kind of weird then that he was re-peaked so easily from main stairs. Hertz had been stood there the whole time. Obviously hadn't been picked up by the drone. Cons does pick up nade though. 4 versus 3. NIP looking pretty solid inside a site. Pino manages to find Philippox. Keeper barricade goes out and they hold on with style. Plenty to spare as Fantasy gets himself another towards the end. That's going to be NIP with their first successful defense. And honestly, I think these attacks are just going to get harder and harder here for Furia. The difficult side, I'd like to see NIP take CCTV first. I said it last time around, and that's exactly what they've done. I said it first time around. Don't go to Church and Arsenal when they can get the hatches easily. In this case, they've got Hibana, or they can just bring the secondary hard breach. You don't have the Kaid. There's nothing you can do about it beyond delaying it with Tugrao. Get yourselves to CCTV and cash. Put some pressure on them. This is one that you should really be able to win. Get Cons active on that wall. Play somebody down in lounge so that he can stay there. Make sure he's safe. Get that bandit trick going. Stop them breaching that wall. Play in CCTV and catwalk and really lock this site down. And then by the time you go down to Church and Arsenal, maybe, just maybe, Furia can feel you breathing down their neck.
That awkward spot for NIP, though, where you've got to be right every single time.
Yeah.
Furia only have to be right once. They can rush your socks off. They can pull out something you just simply not expected. Find someone looking the wrong way at the wrong time, and everything then falls apart for you as NIP. And the game is over. You don't get to go into the final. You don't get to face off against FaZe. And tomorrow we have a rematch of Furia versus FaZe, which would be a great game. It's worth stressing. That one earlier on, FaZe were definitely a cut above Furia, but I'd really hope to see Furia tomorrow coming in, learning lessons from that series, putting up one hell of a show against FaZe in that grand final.
I'd be really quite impressed here if Furia just like committed a load of utility all at the same time, and that would be you put your impact EMP straight onto the wall, get the bandit batteries cleared out, get Hibana pellets on one side, get a secondary hard breach on the other side, send a Rotero drone in behind, and just get everything going on at once so that he can't possibly... Look at that, they've taken the bandit out. You can't let it happen, NIP. That was the whole game plan. That was the whole game plan of going here. But you force the Hibana use. It's the easiest bandit trick you can get, and now they don't have it. The wall is open. Furia, you've got to win this from here.
It's like I say, Tim, like, there's no way they let this go through without having a game plan, and they've come in there ready. Hertz, maybe not quite in the fashion that you'd expect, but has hard punished Cons there. And as you've rightly remarked, all of that bandit tricking is now offline for the round, and Furia give themselves so much time to work with.
Yeah, they really do, and you could see from the banning strategy, from the site choice, from the operator selection, this was NIP's plan. This was, you know, this is how we're going to beat them here. We're going to take away their breaching capability, and it hasn't happened. So Furia need to make sure that they punish that. Nade just has a look through CCTV window, but he's actually going to drop himself away and try and apply a little bit of pressure to Garage. I don't think they've quite dealt with that area yet. Wizard is still in place on the catwalk, so they need to be going in there, making sure they're getting those Capitao bolts in place, forcing him out. Once they have the breach on CC and the garage catwalk, they can think about getting into site and planting.
I'd love to see make use of the nano EMPs here to get the ADSs out from below, to be honest with you. Then you can deal with burning through the magnets as they might stand. But Tim, as you say, 4v3, they've got the kill that they needed here. Trying to go for the long range on towards the stairs, not quite finding their man just yet. Only takes one to go back the other way as Philippox is going low. All that utility still in back pocket. It's worth stressing. He dies with that. That's a lot of fire and a lot of smoke being taken offline.
NIP know they're in trouble. That's why Fantasy's getting aggressive on that door. But Pino hates. They managed to get one back apiece for Leapox onto Pino for the trade. 2v2. 30 seconds left to go. Leapox does have Diffuser in hand, but there's now only one man to cover. So as soon as Leapox goes onto that plant, it leaves it as a 1v2. Triple kill for Hertz as he manages to take out JV. Leapox is planted. I'm not sure they're aware. They're leaving this really late to go. Leapox, he gets off. He's gun in hand. He can take these challengers 1v2. It's not going to be easy, Des.
It's certainly not, Tim. He gets a trade, but Hates to have found a 3k in the round as the one left alone, the sole survivor of the round. 6 to disable, 6 and 5. Can NIP do it, Tim? Because they're getting nail-bitingly close at this point. One more round. We require 3 more to decide who goes to that grand final, and Furia are going to be kicking themselves that they were up 6 and 3, and now we're this close.
Well, you look at it and yeah, you've got to be kicking yourself as Furia. You took out the linchpin of the defence on the opening kill, Des. You got in there and took out the bandit. You were able to breach without a problem. You dismantled NIP's game plan and still didn't come away with the victory. You got catwalk control. What went wrong? There was a double kill in the middle towards the end of the round that just split that Furia attack apart. When you come down to a 2v2 and you need to plant, it's always difficult. Like I said at the time, as soon as that diffuser starts going down, your other man is in a 1v2. So as the 2, you wait for that to happen, because then you can just gang up on them, get that kill, and you 2v1 or 1v1 with the person planting. You've got yourself a chance at least. Furia, they might well rue the fact that they missed that opportunity after taking the bandit out, but this should be an easier site for them. There's not much denial that can be done for NIP here, so I expect that they're going to have to play out into the map. They're going to have to play to waste time as much as they can, because otherwise Furia are just going to be all over them for the entire round.
And it's down to one of the most iconic sites in the game. It's Church and Arsenal. To settle regulation at the very least, may well settle the whole series and our whole day of broadcast. Or even this, he could equally send us into overtime and see us have to do this dance for another 3 rounds. Fantasy once again leaning in towards that bandit, Tim. Obviously, it was an interesting one on what it is that you want to try and deny here. Can't, of course, lock off the hatches, but can on towards Church Wall. Wonder if that's the game plan that he's got in mind, or if it's more of an extension around the map where they want to try and waste time instead.
It could be CCTV, I don't know. We'll see where Fantasy goes. He's back. As he headed upstairs, I wondered if he was going to, because it's Fantasy, and he's got a great gun on Bandit. He's very quick. Is he going to get up on top floor, play the roaming role up there, and maybe look to Bandit trick CC wall, keep himself safe, burn a bit of time? I don't think he's going to do. I think you're absolutely right, and it's going to be Church Wall instead, just to prevent that long angle from the bottom of main stairs. But whether that's going to be enough or not to devote bringing the bandit along, time will tell.
All right, JV moving rapid here through towards Strippers to getting control of the centre part of the map and looking immediately in towards these hatches in pretty rapid time, it's fair to say. Tim, of course, not going to charge their way through them just yet. There's a lot of setup work to do. They've got Leapox to head the charge. They've got Nade on this sledge to focus on the verticals. They've got to worry about the player that's sat on main stairs. Of course, presents a very, very real threat. Seems to have forced him back for now, and there's still a lot of work going on and clearing out on this top floor at the same time.
They're going to recognise what a start, though. Hates manages to find Herds. That's the IQ gone. Not the end of the world in terms of utility, but it is 2 nades that have been lost. I was going to suggest if the bandit battery is becoming a problem, you can just send nades over Church Wall. It's really not that difficult to clear it out, but it just got potentially more difficult because that adds the pressure to Nade to make sure he's got that utility available and in the right place at the right time.
Sure. For now, he can't sit still, can he? Hates has been seemingly everywhere around this middle floor and the bottom floor so far. Giving them a bay, and of course a very, very dug-in spot on this army, tucked in the back by AKs. Protected from blue, protected largely from the hatch, unless you want to be able to contest it. That's what he's looking for here, Tim. We've once famously screamed about the pots and the pans. It could yet be an angle of a player's demise if they're not too careful. Which one it's going to be, though, I don't know. Is it JV getting caught out, or is it Hates? For now, neither.
1 minute left, and Furia need to start softening up this side. They've not really cleared out a lot of utility yet, and certainly no manpower. Haven't dislodged any of these defenders. They're going to have themselves a position, though, as KZ manages to get the kill onto Wizard, but Pino is there. NIP can play the trade game. They can just go 1 for 1 and win the round. It's as easy as that. Cons is low health, but Toxic Babe Canister's going to start burning some time.
That's the worry, right? By the time these are fully expired, we're down to probably about 15 seconds to go, maybe even 10. Philippox have mentioned him being the spearhead, the one who's focused on that plant. He won't be able to get away with it. They'll just keep on playing this dance here, but it is literally going to come down to the final few seconds and who finds the majority of kills in this close. On we step. It's Nade working his way forward, rounding on towards a different door, but no! Sideswiped inside of Church, didn't know about it. NIP are going to hold on. Tim, you can say the line.
We're going to overtime, Des.
One of those where 3 rounds ago, it simply did not look possible. But NIP have dragged this out for 3 more rounds, and when Fury were probably very confident they could get this done, they pull us right back in, and crucially, NIP are on the defense.
I think ultimately, you know, both teams struggling to really sort of take advantage one way or another of those bans that we've seen, and not able to quite push it over the line. Furia will start on the attack. No real benefit in either side at the minute, I don't think.
Oh, I disagree there, Tim. I know it was a 3-3 half, but look at our previous 3 rounds. NIP winning every single one. Round 11 was close. It came down to Hates, of course, winning out and getting the Disable down, but the other 2 rounds were dominant. They only lost 2 players across round 10 and round 12. I think this is a massive advantage for NIP right now. They chose to go to Gym and Bedroom. Let's see if Furia can turn the tables.
The reason that I would say the opposite is Furia have been up against it. They are a very adaptive team. They've had the opportunity to see they can come back, they can course correct, they can fix, they can change things. NIP are going to need to do things differently. They need to bring something else to the table, and when you do that, you open up the opportunity for mistakes. Open the opportunity for things to slip. Let's see who will come away with the advantage. We get into the action phase. Furia on the attack, NIP on the defense. 3 rounds time at the most. We're going to know who gets that grand final spot. The loser, of course, will finish their run in the playoffs. They will finish in 3rd place with 50 SI points. Fantasy with a big opener. It's the Blackbeard.
How has he got the Blackbeard as the opener? That is balmy. And why are Furia making a mistake that they dealt with so adeptly last time? They had the Zofia of hers underneath. They stopped the Bandit from doing exactly what he's just done, which is toasting out 8 of those Hibana charges. Like, you could not have asked for arguably a worse start to this round. Like, that is horrific.
Certainly not the start that Furia would have been looking for. And they are now finding themselves on the back foot. As you said, Des, NIP have been good on the defense. Maybe I overestimated Furia's ability to change the course of what had happened previously. I'm going to get those windows open for now. Got themselves a reasonable bit of control. They can start using these windows. They don't really need to worry about cache or CCTV. Gonna just add to the manpower over on that side of the map. And there's a lot of time, 1 minute 40 here for NIP to absorb this pressure.
This is a massive risk as well, because in doing so, they have to be so careful on the South Alkali. JV is permanently at risk here, and now Hertz has killed him. What are we doing, boys? Like, how are Furia
He's killed it
this hard? Yeah.
With a Vulcan canister, I think.
I think it was that or the pipe, but I think it was the Vulcan canister.
No, I think it was the pipe. A combination, I think. I think both of the fires hit him at the same time, but yeah, definitely not ideal.
Goes from bad to worse for Furia, and I honestly thought it'd be NIP that would ramp up after their last 3 rounds, but no, it's Furia drastically ramping down. Can these 3 win it versus the 5 that still stand? They've got 60 seconds of which to do so. That final bit of fire starts to burn out, including the Capital. KZ, he's in and good for 1. JV in for another. Make it a 3rd coming out. No, don't quite find the man. It's all he can do is stand and watch as Fantasy decimates them on their push forwards. NIP, 4 rounds back to back, and now a single round away from a dance with FaZe tomorrow in the grand final.
Fantasy's had a huge day today. We know that
Ain't he
he's
just?
one of those talismanic players, but he has just come through so many times for this team. 32 kills across this series he's got, and he had a fantastic performance against W7M as well. There was a map, I don't think he did reach 20 in the end, but he was very, very close to it in the overtime with W7M, and just a phenomenal performance from Fantasy. In fact, no, it was the first overtime on Cafe here. He got 20. So he started this off against Furia with a 20 bomb, and he's just gone. Every time you're thinking that NIP are kind of on the back foot a little bit, and a kill pops up for them, it's Fantasy every time.
One thing is bonkers is for Furia, it's a similar story to their series against FaZe early on the entry. They're absolutely dominating there. Erds, KZ, and Nade between them, plus 16 on the entry. They are rolling over NIP when it comes to entry battles. But actual round conversion, as we're now seeing, of course, it's going the way of NIP. Yes, our first map was 1-8-6. The second one won by Furia 7-3. This one is now, as we stand and see it building up. But it's just been one of those series where, for the most part, Furia should have had far more rounds on the board across these 3 maps. But really only Clank is the one that has gone according to plan. Let's see if NIP get this done on the attacking side.
CCTV was actually Furia's best defensive site, given that they played it twice, but they did also win Church and Gym and Bedroom 50-50, and they did also lose Church and Gym and Bedroom. So they're going to lock down Church. They've got Skopos as their presence out in the strip side. Felipox is there. Not sure if he's been spotted out yet, but the droning looks pretty thorough, so I think he will be. Yeah, no. Excuse me. Pino manages to pick up KZ, but they've got a big problem here. They haven't picked up on Felipox, I don't think. Inside, oh no, they do. They know he's there. I was going to say, the first drone didn't go to that corner. He's going to be rushed down by the Blitz, but somehow he gets the kill. He's full white flashed and takes down Cons. This is big from Felipox. 4 versus 3.
It's one of those I'm not stuck in here with you, you're stuck in here with me moments. Cons really should have had him dead to rights. They have now finally cleared him out, but it's reduced us down to a 3v3, and 2 key operators of the attackers are offline. Defenders themselves, right, not too significant. Could have been the Goyo out there going down, really wouldn't have mattered all that much. It's C4 in the back pocket, it hurts that my eyes fall to as the next call comes online. But Hates, surely you hold on to that one for the execute, because this could be done here in the 14th round.
That play from Felipox could be absolutely massive. We will keep that one in mind as this goes on. NIP just a failure to win gunfights with him effectively, especially when the first one up in his face was the Blitz. Looks like they're going to grab the cameras. How valuable could that be? Well aware of the presence inside a site. It will be taken out and give the opportunity for Furia to just relocate a little bit there. 3 versus 3. 50 seconds left to go. NIP, you're going to have to start getting a move on.
Still. Can Herds be the X factor? Crouching his way up. Might find one. He's going to find number 1, but can't get number 2. Hates. It's him and Fantasy that have been doing this dance at the top of the table for the team all week long. All week? All game long. And now he's got to win here in a 1v2. He's still got a phone call. Please use the phone call. Let's not see another Dokkaebi go down with both of those in back pocket. Could arguably be the difference maker for him. At the least it's a little bit of information. 1 steps across. The flash comes out, and no, JV has found his man. Furia demand all 15 rounds to see who walks away the winner. And at least on how stats have gone so far, Tim, you give it to NIP, but you just never know in round 15.
Oh, you really don't. NIP will be going on the defense. Just having a look at where they're likely to choose. They went Gym and Bedroom last time. They're in the same situation, Furia, where the other 2 sites that they could use, Church and CCTV, they lost them. It was 50-50. They lost one, lost one. So they're deciding to go down to the basement. One way or another, they're going to either leave there the victors or the losers. They will be locked in 3rd place with 50 SI points, or they will guarantee themselves a minimum of 2nd place with 150, or a chance at 1st place with 300 SI points. And the demolition of FaZe in the process as well, which is never a bad thing, is it, if you're going up against them?
Never a bad thing to stick with us for a best of 3 and final one of the day, Tim, to see it go to 15 rounds on map 3. It's normally nice to want a bingo card somewhere for that. Of course, no bingo card in existence for SAL today. Maybe tomorrow. Now things carry on forwards. As mentioned for NIP, I give them the advantage. I know it has been dead even in terms of stats of both sides, but I think NIP are the ones that have shown over those last 3 rounds of regulation on the defensive side that they are the kings, that they can get this one done. I'm with Leo. I called him a hopeless romantic earlier, Tim, but now I'm a bit of a believer, a hopeful romantic, that it can be done here and now. Let's hope Furia, though, don't completely bottle it the way they did in round 13. No more silliness. Get it nice and narrow, keep it straight and narrow. Play one of the best rounds of Siege we've seen from you all day long. This is the time to remind us of why you're one of the greatest teams in the game.
Yeah, I like what you're saying there. I feel like out of the 2 teams, NIP, it's not about deserving the win, but NIP have played positively, whereas it feels like Furia have been kind of surviving. They've had, they've thrown away 3v5s, they've been punished for mistakes, whereas NIP feel like they've come in and they've made big plays. They've been the ones winning in those situations. And so you look at it like that and think, you know what? I can't say that it's, it's not fair for them to win it here because they really have earned their spot. But if Furia can get it done here, all that has gone will be forgotten, and they will have earned their spot every bit as much. Rotero drone getting sent down blue. Just looking to clear out some utility, looking to clear themselves a path. 1 minute 10 gone off the clock. We can hear those Hibana pellets just activating to clear out those hatches. Furia putting them to use.
You know what it needs?
Didn't get much value out of the hatches last time.
No, they need a hate clutch. He's had 2 big clutches in this game, round 5 and round 11, where he's basically kept his team in this. If he didn't have those moments, they lost those. They're already out of this game, and Fury are through to the final. It needs to end on that arc, on that story, Tim. It's got to see him go big. He's 14 and 7, a 2.0 KD on this map alone. Could he be the one to shut down the dreams? Feels like it might be. The walls are caving in. Fury applying more and more pressure as more and more of that ceiling is ripped away from NIP. We've got to be so careful about where they play now.
Yeah, this is it. There's fewer and fewer spots that they can rely on for any safety. Look at this. Herds has got himself positioned inside of Mortal. He's just daring anybody to move around inside. The bandit trick is going to be unsuccessful. They managed to get the job done. It's Kairos pellets detonate, and they get that extra long line of sight through. JV92 manages to find the first kill. It's Wizard that's taken down. 5 versus 4. We have a down though. 2 go. Pino Cons. NIP fighting back. Des 30 seconds.
It's the cursed entry, Tim. I'm telling you, Fury have got it, which means they're destined to lose the round. A 3v3 yet again as that clock ticks down. Missing out on the headshots. You can see the nerves starting to kick in as Herds gets one more. Down to a 1v2, and it's Fantasy to go big. No C4 in back pocket, but no! Herds has gone huge throughout the day in so many rounds, and of course, when you need him most, he stands up and makes himself heard. Furia lock in a rematch with FaZe tomorrow, but NIP have fought tooth and nail to give us one hell of a series today.